friends are here. I said hi to LJ and Druid, and Robin's here and Janet's here. Hi guys. Happy Saturday.
Sound check. My Saturday is busy.
Yeah, it is.
I literally had to start get up and go, and it's hot. I don't really. Oh, hey, Druid's here too.
Yeah.
The nerds of quilting. I feel like I should be wearing a crown and holding a scepter and stuff. Here ye, the nerds of quilting.
Indeed. So.
And how's your Saturday?
It's good, very busy Saturday, but I also slept in. So, I am, you know how you think to yourself, I've got all the time, queen nerds, yes ma'am. You think you have all the time in the world, and you're like, I got, I'm ahead of schedule, got it all on lock. I'm leaving to go out of town for literally 2 weeks, on Tuesday morning. Am I packed? Not quite. But the other thing is I started working on a piece, literally brand new piece 3 days ago.
Because that sounded like the smart thing to do.
Well, but it is your fault because I told you about the call for art, and there were two that I had been looking at, and I'm like, yeah, I do want to put pieces in, submit pieces to these shows, and one of them unfortunately has a very short window. So I only
how short?
August 31st. And I'm back on August 10th or August 11th. So, yeah, I needed to get ahead of the game on that.
So, did you prep anything to work on while you're busy with all your bus time on
this
your
piece?
tour?
I cannot do that with. I'm actually going to be working on it while we talk, so there will be Stitchin while there is Glitchin.
I brought Stitching too.
But it is one of those things that I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many of you are really familiar with my work, but I work small, but I also put a lot of three-dimensional found objects in. There's a whole series I have, and this one's kind of jumping on that. So, I mean, I could show you some of the parts I'm working with here.
I was going to say, you could also share photos and tell us about the piece you just finished recently and posted online.
Oh, yeah. This is true. So these are the kind of things we're dealing with. So
that's going to go on the piece?
Yeah.
So you had to cover that in a plastic and sew around it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have actually a lot of pieces like this. This will probably be the biggest one I've done though. Because usually, I mean, you don't want to hang a whole bunch of stuff from a quilt because it it collapses. So they generally are smaller, but this, yeah, it's stuff like this. And the technique is it's felt, and I stitch the item down, and then I cover it. It's in vinyl, like a vinyl encasement. There's another one. Sometimes I do decorative stitching around holes and things. Let's see, there's one.
Is that a pain in the ass to stitch through?
No, not really. It's a thin, it's marine vinyl. So back when Joanne was still open, you could always find pieces of it in remnants, those big remnants bins they have. Because people buy it.
Those remnant bins.
Yeah, people buy it for different purposes, but there's the really, really, really heavy gauge stuff that literally Jeep windows, the ones that zip, there's that really heavy gauge one, that's something that was available. And then this was really the really thin gauge, for making the inside of a diaper bag. You layer this vinyl on top of the fabric and then you sew it so it makes it waterproof. So anyway, this is that thin vinyl.
Cute.
And you can see it's hard because of the but here along the blade, you can see I've done this decorative stitching, and then decorative stitching in here, and then I sort of encapsulate things whenever there's a hole that'll hold something, and I encapsulate something. So I can't take that stuff on an airplane.
This is why you like to get mixed lots of a lot of vintage sewing stuff.
Yes, because I've been making these pieces now. Oh gosh, pre-pandemic for sure. And some of them are out in the world. Some of them are just packed away and haven't seen the light of day in a long time. There's one in particular. It's been in one show. I've been trying to, I wanted it in this Fiber Arts exhibition, and a person we know was a juror for it. And, you know, jurying it's blind. Like, she would have had no idea that this piece was my work. She's a person that we're friendly with, and, you know, we are on a conversational basis with. Like, I can email her today. So it's, you know, we know her pretty well, but she's also not like a friend who may have looked at my artwork. So I can't imagine she knew it was my piece, and it just, you know, it didn't get juried in. So I was like, You always hope that when a person you know is a judge or a juror, that they're gonna have that, like, what am I looking for? They're gonna have that, like, feeling, that gut feeling that this is your work, and that they need to give it the thumbs up.
You know, and
unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way.
In talking to someone about jurying, which I'm not gonna lie to you, like, I have some feelings about.
Oh, I have feelings about it too.
In talking to someone about it, and you know, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, I really kind of just blurted out, like, I feel like there's probably a lot of favoritism going on, and this person was just like, maybe, but not from me. And they just kind of said, I look at it as, I have a set of criteria, and does this meet that criteria? And that's the end of that. She's like, there are pieces that I've had to jury that I thought were absolutely incredible pieces, and maybe wanted to buy them. They were so amazing. It didn't fit the show. It's
really
just
narrow. Yep.
Yeah, so I was just like, oh, I mean, I hope everyone else has that kind of integrity. Like, you know, like,
I don't know that they do, unfortunately.
No, I agree.
And, you know, and I'm not sure the person you talked to, I'm not sure if I know that person, but I do know that we mutually have a friend who is an artist, but she also has experience doing judging and jurying, just by virtue of, like, where her art goes. And, I mean, she's like, very, you know, here's the standards, that here's what you're dealing with. And that's the part that I think it was kind of eye-opening for me, particularly. You know, we often look at QuiltCon and the Modern Quilt Guild, and, you know, and I mean, QuiltCon is their big thing. Like, they don't necessarily have other things throughout the year the way, say, SAQA does. And that's the Studio Art Quilters Association. I'm so bad with acronyms. Like, but I'm a member of SAQA. That's the bad thing. But, you know, this was something we talked about, I would say, a number of times when Mary was still doing her Quilt Nerd stream, and we discussed it. And I don't know if you guys want to get into this, but from my perspective, QuiltCon, because I have submitted to QuiltCon, I think 5 times. And I've been a QuiltCon reject 5 times. And, you know, and by the 5th time, I'm like, yes, I'm going to get my green jacket, 5 Timers Club. You know, I was kind of over it by then. But the thing about QuiltCon, on the one hand, is it is so popular. So many people submit. And I suspect that, like, Quilt National and, you know, all of these other major shows are really the same way. I just have not submitted to them because I know my work does not fit in, in Texas or in Birmingham, or, you know, I just know my work doesn't fit there. So, you know, my focus, I guess, kind of my daggers have been on the Modern Quilt Guild. And I think the challenge with the Modern Quilt Guild is there are people that get juried in every single year. They often win awards. And from my perspective, at this point, you gotta be kidding me if you're gonna sit there and say, oh, I didn't know that we as a group juried in 4 pieces of this person's artwork. It was blind jurying, wasn't it? And you see those same people over and over and over, and you know that there are newer upcoming quilt artists out there. And I'm not saying like, oh, make room for me. I'm saying make room for everybody. You know, it's when these same people over and over. And I'm not saying that they need to be like ousted. I'm just saying like maybe just jury their best piece in. You know,
Do you think like what do you now? I'm coming from the perspective of I have no interest in entering quilts into shows because I don't ever want to deal with kind of this kind of uh
it's stress. It eats
politics.
away. Yeah, it's politics.
Like
It's stress.
I don't yeah, I don't want to deal with that, and I am not interested in showing my work that way. So let me, like, for context, put that out for people. But what, as an artist, okay, what do you feel could be a way to help remedy that? Like, do they maybe have a small exhibit that's only for first time showers and up and comers? Do they have a limit on how many pieces people can enter or have accepted?
So to answer that, up and comers, I'm not sure if they have a like a newbie award. They don't have a category for that, first timers or anything. I don't know. You know, I do know that there are shows that are for emerging artists. Like,
well, I'm talking specifically QuiltCon.
Yeah, I realize that, but I'm trying to wrap my head around like how would that work? And I mean, I guess it would have to be the kind of thing like I'm going to enter this category as the first time I've entered. Because the question is, the thing is, emergent artists.
Robin thinks once you win, you should be out, and it's the only way to make room for other people. Hi, Arlene.
Yeah. Hey, Arlene. Yes. I guess yes, and I do, and well, I don't know how to put words around this. Okay, so I feel like, yes, I get the sentiment of that, and I would love for that to be like the rule. But here's the challenge with that rule. So like when you're in a situation like, you know, and I'm not trying to minimize anything here, but like say you're in a situation, door prizes, you know, you go to an event and there's door prizes, and then it's like, you know, once you've won, you and if your ticket gets picked, you know, you put 10 tickets in there. If your ticket gets picked again, like, you don't, you know, you already won a thing. That works very well in situations like that. When it's a situation, you know, when you're getting up into this echelon of the art world, and I mean, I'm not going to make any ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you are showing at these large shows, you are showing artwork. I don't care what anybody says. If you get a quilt in QuiltCon, Quilt National, any of those, you are an artist. Because that's kind of like the brand that, you know, that's the sticker that got slapped on you. You have arrived. I hate that it is that way, but it is that way. That's just how it is. And it's a disservice to people that are very talented and, you know, are emerging into their artwork, that they do get a chance to keep showing their artwork, and they do get a chance at excellence. And then that's how those people rack up those CVs, those artist resumes, full of awards and showing. And to say that, okay, you have won a category in this show, you can't enter anymore, or you can show, but maybe you can't win, or it gets very complicated. And then there's that that becomes unfairness in another way. You know what I mean? It's a really, really tough thing. And, you know, it's like one of those things like, oh, we shouldn't have contests anymore. You know, this is just the way these things work. I mean, this kind of showing off your handiwork and winning a prize for it has been going on. I mean, we've looked at this stuff.
But there's got to be a way to at least make it so that there's more of a chance. Like, I know this has been floated around many times. I see it discussed every single year in my Young and Millennials Facebook group when the people start getting their reject notifications about why doesn't someone rent a hall near wherever QuiltCon is and have a reject show. And so I'm like,
And I love that idea
Like,
too, but here's the challenge with that. Somebody else would have to jury that because the rejects, we're talking thousands and thousands of quilts. I think, and when I was volunteering for QuiltCon, I happen to be wearing my shirt today. I haven't volunteered since before the pandemic, so we're looking at many number of years. But back, like the last time I worked volunteer, I actually was part of the takedown crew. So how many quilts is that? It's at that time it was like 600, 600 or 700 quilts. I think that's been consistent. So that is, I mean, excuse my language, that's a fuck ton of quilts. That is a percentage. At that time, that was about 10% of the quilts that were submitted. So it's not like you can't say like, okay, you didn't get into the main show, but we're going to put you over here in the reject show, or, you know, it would have a nicer title, I'm sure. But like, then what do you do? I mean, that ends up being like 5,000 quilts. Like you can't, like, what are you going to do?
I don't know. It'd be pretty cool if like they like, let's see, the next one's in Raleigh. If they like took over like the whole city. And there are all these different buildings all over. Can you imagine? Can you just like if they? And I'm not saying QuiltCon runs all that. I would actually say outside.
Yeah, it would be very cool.
But,
yeah, it would be very cool.
But can you imagine the tourism? If people banded together to do that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, like maybe there's a show at a high school, and maybe there's a show at the middle school, and you know, low cost places.
Yeah.
That doesn't have vendors necessarily, and
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they have like some local stuff, but like that would be really cool. And if you remember, I'm not going to get all this correct. It's just going to be highlights of a story we heard. But you remember those stories about a couple of quilt shows in Pennsylvania where there was like the big show, like the big like Lancaster show, and then some people were like not happy with the way things were going with that or whatever, so they kind of did like a secondary show.
Yeah, they did their own thing. Yeah.
And then like for a while there were like two really close together, and yeah, that's kind of where my brain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that yeah, so Robin said it's gotten so big they need to make room for newer artists. Yeah. You know, it's okay. So I look at QuiltCon, and I mean, again, Houston and you know, International Festival of Quilts. I don't know as much about it. I'm going to find out when I go. I look at International Festival of Quilts as being kind of QuiltCon-ish, you know, based on what they have there. But like Houston, it's a thing that takes over. And, you know, the stuff that happens in Paducah, I mean, in Paducah is sort of a special case in itself. But, you know, these shows, they take over. And it's almost like there isn't room for, you know, like the guilds want to be at the big thing. And the vendors and everybody want to be at the big thing. But I see what you're saying, and that would be cool if in a city, you know, and I mean, we knew years ago, we knew back when QuiltCon was in Raleigh that it was coming back to Raleigh. So you've got this lead time. It would be very cool if the local guilds could do something like that. Another show or another, you know, range of shows around that. That would be, you know, an opportunity for the QuiltCon reject crew to have their work in those. I think about the Venice Biennale. You know, that's the big European art show. I've talked about it ad nauseum on my stream. And they do stuff. They do stuff like, you know, there's the Venice Biennale. There's the thing there. And then there's these little satellite things. And some of them, even the little satellite things, are connected with the Biennale. Some of them are like these little tiny things that are not connected. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just... It's easy to sit here from the perspective of I didn't get in, and, you know, my friends and my mom say, oh, your work is so great, you know, screw them, you know. But on the flip side of that, the people that do get in and do get recognition and do get awards, and we have a friend who she is there. She is doing this kind of thing. She is getting awards at, you know, QuiltCon, Quilt National. She's, you know, and her work certainly deserves it. And I'm not saying that the people that get juried, I mean, their work, I'm not, you know, when I walk the show, I'm astounded at the creativity and the fascinating things people do, and like the boundaries that I mean, it's just amazing, like what so many of these artists are doing for, you know, the democracy of quilting. I mean, they truly are making it better for all of us when these things are shown. these creative endeavors. Um, but I also walk through there sometimes and go, well, I made something almost exactly like that about 5 years ago. I even submitted it to the show. I didn't get in, but she did.
To be fair, like again, I'm not an artist, but you are. You can, both things can be true at the same time. You can honor the fact that they're also artists and their work is fantastic, and also be upset that,
Oh, sure.
you
Yeah. I
know,
mean, we
some
have
things
that right. But
need to be different.
yeah, but honoring those artists and being upset, those are the human elements. But that doesn't solve me feeling
Right.
bad and, those artists getting like a leg up on everybody else. It's just, there are popularity contests are part of our everyday, really, in this day and age, um, social media is all a big popularity contest, and how we show up in the world, I think in this, our culture, at least, in our American Western culture, has become very like, hey, look at me, and I'm all about, hey, look at me, but it's, hey, look at my work. That's all I want the hey, look at me to be. Right?
So how many potential like showing opportunities are you currently like working towards in whatever various stages?
For this year, I'm only actively working on, well, this piece I'm working on right now is going to do double duty. Because based on the availability of these two shows I want to get into, and I feel pretty good about both of them. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm a shoo-in. I feel good about both of them. That's why I want to like push myself to get this done. So if you want to call those two separate shows, but I'm only working on one piece, and then I have my quilt study, which is it's going to be in at least one show. Hopefully it tours, but if it's not chosen to tour it, it's one show this year.
I mean,
So
if it's I believe even if it's not chosen to tour, that it will at least be in a book.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. So, so 2 pieces of work, 3 shows. That's it for this year. But if I have, here's the other thing, and this is one of those administrative things I don't think people necessarily realize as part of the work of being an exhibiting artist, is you have to put down the work and go do administrative stuff, like search for shows to submit to. And the challenge with that is when you have a call for art, it's typically not as simple as, hey, send us your work and we'll give you a show. You get the call for art, and you guys all, I'm sure, look at stuff and belong to stuff enough, organizations to know that there are these calls for art, and it'll be things like, as an example, Sakwa did this kind of cool one a while back, called, oh gosh, what was it? It was like Scales, Fangs, and Fur or something like that, and it was about animals, insects, reptiles, anything, and it was, and then the Fierce Planets, that was another really fascinating one. There's a very tight theme for that, and those are great challenges because you, given that prompt or that set of requirements, you can stretch your creativity with that, those limitations. Like I think artists tend, when they have a limitation, is when they tend to grow. It's an oxymoron, isn't it? I have more restrictions, yet I'm gonna grow more creatively. But I think without exception, most artists will be like, yeah, that's when I've done my best work, when I've had some kind of limitation, whether it's with my materials or whatever. So those shows are great, and they're the ones that you're like, hopefully they give you a long lead time. Like you might have a year to work on a piece, and usually most shows will accept up to 3 pieces. It's kind of a crapshoot, but most of the time for like big ones, they'll accept 3 pieces. So you've got a piece in progress. You have to work on that, because you have to conceive of the idea and work on it. And that's a lot of work. So what you're often looking for are shows that are either kind of open You know, we're just looking for, excellence in fiber arts or, excellence in quilts, that kind of thing. So that's when you're like, okay, what's the very best, what is my very best work? And you have to make sure that very best work isn't already being considered for something else. You know, you have to be really careful with dates. So that's complicated. And that's a logistical thing. You have to have so many different skills when you're an exhibiting artist. And then, you're looking for shows that work with work you already have. And it's like a kind of depressing game of investigation at times. It's a detective work it makes you feel bad at times. Because I don't know how many times I've been looking for something and been like, oh my gosh, okay, the dates for entering the show are like right now. I have maybe 2 more weeks if I want to enter a piece, and I do have a piece that would be great for that, but it's only like 3/4 of the way done, and I'll never finish it in time. Like that's the story of my life. That's why I haven't gotten some pieces in shows that I really wanted to, submit to. So it's complicated, and it's like I often ask myself the question, why do I do this?
Is there like a network search engine or something that you use to find all these different shows?
Sort of. There's a bunch of I'm on so many like mailing lists and stuff. There's a bunch of organizations that particularly here in Maryland, there's a couple of the art, like the local arts organizations, like the county arts, and the state arts that will, they're whoever's responsible for their mailing list is always just putting together, here's all the open calls that we, have as research for you. So it'll be things like regional, Mid-Atlantic or East Coast or Southern artists or Maryland artists, or even like down to my county. Or it's, major regional galleries that are looking for things. And a lot of times some of these mailing lists, or these sites, they mix in visual art, performing arts, video, writing, all that kind of stuff. So you have to pick through, and you have to see, like, look at a title and you'll be like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then you'll read it and you're like, it's only for people that live in the state of Montana, or it's only for performing arts and creative writing, or it's, so you ended up spending annoying. You spend a lot of time researching. And I fall down. Yeah, I mean, you guys know I'm a researcher too. I love to research, and so it's super easy for me to just lose days of my life looking for things. So I'm always really grateful when friends run across something and send me, something that I may have missed. You actually sent me one the other day. It was already on my radar, but yeah, it's the I think the poor starving artist is a fallacy. Although it is very easy to be a poor starving artist. But I think the life of an artist today is different than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah, it's a multifaceted situation. So, but yeah, I'm at the point. I mean, I can say kind of to sum it up with QuiltCon, there have been several major names that have said, you should not be able to jury. You could submit multiple pieces, but they need to keep track and not jury in, 5 pieces by the same artist. You get one. Or you get one per category, because that's the other thing. I think that's the thing that makes me so mad, is you'll see artists with stuff in the same category, and I'm like, how did they do that? Because that's not how you submit. And I think it's because QuiltCon themselves, when stuff gets juried in, they move it around. They'll put it in different categories, and they tell you that. It's not like they're doing something shady. They'll tell you, if you submit to one category and we think it's better in another category, we will move your piece. So, and I think that's post jurying. So it's not like, you can't complain about like, oh, I didn't get in because they moved me to the mini quilts or they moved me to something else. It's once you're in, then they say, well, you don't belong in this category. We're going to put you over here. So.
I'm really glad that I don't have the desire to operate in that space. And on the one hand, one thing that makes me happy that I don't is because then I can cheerlead, for people that want to put themselves through misery, The other thing too that you told me the other day that I had no idea is that you have to pay to like enter all this crap.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Like,
realize you
like,
didn't
like
know.
it's a college, like it's a college
Hmm.
application. Like,
Hmm.
so I'm thinking about like some of our, you know, you keep mentioning our one artist friend that's in a lot of stuff, and I'm just like, she must spend a few, like a couple $1,000s a year then, in like all of
Okay,
this crap she's
so
entering in.
that particular person isn't entering a ton of stuff. She, because of the quality and uniqueness of her work, she is entering Quilt National, So, although yes, it does add up. I mean, it only takes a couple shows and you're a couple $100s in. But I would say in her case, yes, she does. I'm not saying she's scot free as far as finances, but yeah, she's not paying for as many. Now, the reason why you and I got into that conversation was because Sakwa did I think it was members only, so I don't think it's anything out there. Sorry, it's not something out there that you can go watch on YouTube, but it was two Sakwa artists, two pretty successful Sakwa artists, and they were talking about their annual. It was kind of it was a dual thing. It was about managing your portfolio. And there comes a point when you have so much work you forget about old stuff. So it's good to have a spreadsheet, and I need to do a better job of that. But so they were talking about that, like how they manage, like, I have 200 pieces of work, and here's where it is at all times, and here are all of these shows I want to, and the dates and all this. So they were talking about how to manage all that, but they were also talking about the number of shows that they submit to. And the one artist, I think she never gave like really hard concrete numbers, but it sounds like she submits to a good number of things. But the other artist, now she is an abstract artist. Her quilts were, they were just, I would put them in there like modern art, kind of like abstract, very colorful. Really beautiful stuff and big. Like that was her other thing, and that's the thing like blew my mind when I'm about to tell you some numbers. Her pieces are big, like bed-sized quilts. Now, granted, she works entirely on a machine, so in my case, it would take me the rest of my life to make one of them, much less the number she made. But I would say in 1 year, she submitted to 90 some shows, and she got into 60 some of them. So yes, great, that's awesome. Now, how many pieces of work is she working with? About 260.
So wait, how like on average, how much does it cost to enter a show?
The cost has gone up. On average, I would say it's probably $45 is the average price. And
Okay.
usually,
So
now let me
90.
say that usually gets you 3 pieces, that you can send 3 pieces in for
Oh, it
$45
usually gets
or
okay. So it
$40.
usually gets okay. If it's $45 and you can get 3 pieces, then on average she spent $1,300 that year for her 90 pieces.
Yeah. And they're not all as cheap as $45.
Right. Well, and that's not even that is not including and like your materials, like all of that, like that is a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot. I mean, it really goes to show you, for those of us that weren't as much in the know as like the lives of artists, why often I feel like ones with patrons, actual monetary patrons, probably succeeded better and faster than others because
Yeah.
someone was footing the bill for everything.
Yeah. And that's
They
the
could
thing.
really concentrate on this stuff.
Yeah, so that's the thing about the concept of the poor starving artist is not really true, because the poor starving artist is never getting their head above water in this day and age. I think there was a time when you could kind of show up on the scene with your, I make something off of, I make art out of things I found on the street. That is also why many really unique artists that maybe kind of, worked in obscurity quite a bit become famous after they're dead. It's just the nature of it. Artists are squirrely people too, so you don't necessarily have people that are very good at the things they need to be good at to be successful. I I think a lot of people, and please understand, I'm not throwing shade at people. I'm not, I mean, in some ways, sometimes it's a little sour grapes, but a lot of really successful artists do have some sort of monetary and financial support, whether it's patrons, whether it's a family, whether it's a spouse that maybe works a job that keeps them comfortable, and gives discretionary income to buy things like materials and to pay assistants and things like that. And that's part of being part of the big art machine. And it's funny, you and I had a conversation not long ago about a quilt artist who's been around a long time and is well known, well collected, and they found out that I don't know, some piece of their work had been sold, or some pieces had been sold for kind of a pittance, and they were kind of upset about that. And when you're art selling on the secondary market, I don't necessarily know. I don't think any of my art is on the secondary market because I pretty much know most of the people who own my artwork. A handful I don't. A handful of people that have bought my work out of galleries, and I don't. It's out in the wind. I have no idea. But my pieces that I still know where a lot of them are, so they're not on the secondary market. But this is an artist who is a big name, and their work on the secondary market is problematic in ways that I think you just don't know if you don't live that. You look at stuff that gets auctioned at Sotheby's. You think about these big name artists like Banksy. I always say Banksy's like a big one because not only is his artwork, or wait, honestly, do we know who Banksy is? Is it a one person? Is it an art collective? That all remains up in the air. But Banksy messes around with the ability for his or their work to be secondary market because they do things like paint the work on the side of a building. Hard for anybody to own that. Make the artwork self-destructing. Don't push that button if you just paid $1 million for it. It's like that artist messes around with these concepts. But if your work fails on the secondary market, or if your work is really, really purchased at this inflated level in the secondary market, it changes the viability of your artwork. It changes, like, I guess the best way I can put it is like, in a major brand like Target. I keep seeing the headlines that Target is struggling because, a lot of people have boycotted Target because of their DEI rollback, and there've been all these other things, that they're pointing at, and it's kind of like that with artists. When you're on a national stage or an international stage, anything that affects your saleability, your desirability, like, it upsets the apple cart. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's complex. So yes, Robin, a friend that goes for grants, absolutely. That is another way. And I have had a grant to make artwork, and my God, it's a relief. When you have that, and it may just be a couple $100. In my case, it was more than that. So, but it was a relief to say, like, okay, I have my materials covered. I have kind of my overhead covered for a short period of time with this grant. And of course now we're in a situation where they're not as many artist grants available. So.
Well, with all that being said, like, work on that damn piece.
I am.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, you just kept looking at the camera, so I'm like, does she not have her piece in her hand? Like, work on the piece.
Well, I'm trying to look at the camera because I'm sure nobody likes to see the top of my head.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I am working on my little...
Oh, your little babies are coming together. I like that purple fabric.
And it was, like, when the first thing I did was basted another hexie to go in my little hexie stash here. These are, what are these? Are they
3/4 or half inch?
Half inch.
Yeah.
They're half inch.
It's the flat side that you measure.
Yep. Yep, these ones are 1/2 inches. And I know I always say this, but it's one of those things where like I really wasn't necessarily prepared with like hexy basting being a whole other like project
It is. It's a
aside
production line,
from,
man.
yeah, like aside from making whatever you have planned to make.
Well, and I look at like, okay, well, I think what you're experiencing with Hexies is I think about this before sewing machines, and or even when sewing machines were ubiquitous, I think still lots of people did hand piecing. That's what they did, they would hand piece their little units, and then their little units would get bigger until they're piecing blocks together, and that's you are experiencing the original, the foundations of the democratic art of quilting.
Yeah, and what's funny is I haven't really touched this since our last Stitch and Glitch because the house that I'm in does not have central air. It's an antique home, and we have looked into the cost of putting the ductless mini splits at least on the first floor,
Mm-hmm.
and just window ACing the upstairs because most people aren't hanging out in their hallway. And even though Massachusetts like rolled out like an energy grant for people getting the ductless mini splits in older homes, the project is still like $30,000, and our first floor would need 3 units based on how the floor is laid out. So we were like, okay, that's not high on the priority list.
Yeah.
So we don't currently have any ACs on the first floor. We are talking about at least getting one to put in the kitchen, but would still need to be a big AC unit, like one of like the $500 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big room. The only good thing is it has a door, so it can be closed off. But anyhow, so these rooms don't have AC. We've got a ton of fans, and so basically late at night when I might like generally be sewing, watching a show or whatever, just chilling. I now at those times, probably like 10 p.m. to like 2 a.m. Those are the times now that I want to do things downstairs. I want to be productive on the first floor because it's cooler,
Mm-hmm.
and with all the fans, when it cools down after the end of the day, we open the windows and blow in the cool air and stuff. So I find that that's when I end up right now doing projects on the first floor and not
Yeah.
necessarily just hanging out and stitching.
Yeah, and
So
that's and I totally get that. I live in the crusty old antique house too. But yeah, I just like to sew at night. Like I'm a late into the night kind of person, and because I sew by hand. Yes, Arlene, exactly. To me it's that just sitting there, and it's just you get into this like rhythm of and that like just as example with these, I picked all of those things. Like I have this vision in my mind, I have all my sketches, and I pick all of these things, and I have my materials, and they're in this little box right now, just because I could bring it to my desk and I can on the couch, and at night it's just becomes like this meditative process. It's winding down. It's not looking at screens. I mean, like I have the TV going or I listen to a podcast, but it's not doom scrolling. It's just doing these like little kind of I don't want to say it's mindless. It is still creative to some degree, but it's this production line of creating the work. And I mean that's the way I break my work up, and just based on the way I make my work, it's conducive to that. But yeah, I have so many little projects, like little English paper piecing projects, just in bags and boxes, because I can pull that stuff, and I think I'm going to take one with me on my trip coming up. Just
are
because
you gonna take a diamonds sewing roll with you to England to make for your friend?
much as I love Collector with a Needle and her patterns are fantastic, they are intricate. They are a once in a lifetime endeavor. I promise, Joe, when I finish all of my other projects, I'm gonna get to the benefactor's
Okay,
diamonds.
so basically when I'm dead.
Yes,
You're
when
never...
you're 112 and I'm 150.
I'm gonna have to like dig you up and be like, Stephanie, did you finish sewing roll yet?
Yes, I could see you coming to my funeral and whispering into the casket.
No. You know what I'll do? This is so morbid. But like I'll be going through the receiving line and all of a sudden you're gonna see me hanging over the casket with my ass hanging out. People are gonna be like, what are you doing? I'm looking for a sewing roll. I know she's probably got it in here.
You never made me my sewing roll!
And just so everyone is clear, Stephanie never, ever, ever promised to make me a sewing roll. I promised her to make me one.
You
Just
promised
so that
me
that's
I
clear.
would make you one. Yes, basically I'll get to it on my deathbed. Exactly. Yes, I promise. I absolutely promise I'm getting to it on my deathbed.
She'll be on her deathbed and like her son will be like, I don't know why she won't just let go and let herself go. And then she'll like kind of wake up because I promised Jill I'd make a sewing roll.
Yes.
Jill promised I would make one before I'm allowed to die.
Yeah, it's gonna be those things like I'm on life support at a nursing home or something, and you're coming in with like, you just have to put the needle in your fingers.
Oh, my face hurts. Ow.
You could sew one more before you die, Stephanie.
Hey, you know what? It's probably a bit to your detriment that you have worked on stuff in front of me because I know how fast you can work.
I work faster under certain circumstances than.
Well, I'm just gonna say, when we were in Pennsylvania last October, was it last October?
I think so. Yeah, I think what you're talking about. Yeah.
That trip was so fun. When we were there last October, and that is when I none of this was done last October. Okay, like none of this. That was when I officially got the bug because Stephanie like took the time. And to be fair, I don't think I needed that much time, but Stephanie took the time to really like walk me through the process where other people had just kind of, and this isn't to be upset with them, but they just kind of had told me about the process. No one actually like, so it's this, and then it's this, and then it's this. So once she did that, I was like, oh, okay, this really isn't that hard. So she, at that time, was working on the diamonds sewing roll, which I'm kind of wondering like if you have a picture available so people can know what the hell I'm talking about. But she was working on it, and she's like, she had to base some diamonds, and she's putting them together, and she's literally like putting like these itty bitty little diamonds together, and she's just like boop, 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 and next to boop, 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 and I'm like on like one side of a hexie. To be fair, though, the hexies I was working on were big. They were like 1-inch hexies.
Yes, and also to be fair, when you were first stitching, you were doing 500 stitches to the inch, and then you got down to 300 stitches to the inch. And the fact that I just only put like with English paper piecing, I do like.
I think on those diamonds you did like 3.
Pretty much. I mean, they're tiny. I can go get it. It's not far. If you want me to show, the people what you're getting in my will, because that's the only way you're getting one.
Well, you can go get it, or you can pull up a photo of it.
All right, bear with me. I'm gonna go off video.
Just as long as you don't kick me off the view. And we get to look at a professional-looking photo of 15-year-old Stephanie. Oh, okay, never mind. I just get to look at that view. It just went to me on the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. What are other people working on? I'm doing hexies. Stephanie's doing artwork. I have to say, let's see. I'm currently 1, 2, 3. I'm still doing about between 10 and 12 stitches per side. LJ, I don't know if you're here, but that's an improvement. Hey, Alicia.
Hey, Alicia. Thank you, notes to donors. I love that. That's very sweet. Oh, Arlene said deadlines are great. Yes, deadlines are good. Deadlines are the reason I get some things done.
Although it's funny, though, because Arlene says you can plot your path to the finish. That sounds kind of like nefarious. Plotting my path.
Plotting a path also is good project management. So
laundry and security cameras. Yay, there it is. There's the roll.
Security cameras. Now, there's something nefarious. So, I mean, you could see the many...
Guys, don't you think Stephanie should either give this to me or make me one? I know that you think so. I was gonna say, you gotta move the ribbon. Yeah, look at her pretty design.
Yep.
Thank you, LJ. LJ admits that it's a big improvement that I'm at 10 to 12 stitches per side now instead of 150.
Oh man, LJ's been busy today. I'm making me look bad. So finishing binding, making a batch of chicken broth, washing some fabric, and doing laundry.
Wow, LJ, do you want to come over and like help your girlfriend out?
I love it when my friends are productive, right? So Arlene is prepping donated quilts for sale for the state documentation project. We accept donations and resell. Gotcha.
Druid, someone's trying to break in.
Oh no, that's not good.
No, that's horrifying.
Robin's working on a Key West cross stitch pattern. Fat Quarter Shop. The Quilted Scarecrow by Lori Holt. I don't know if I've seen that one. I knew Lori Holt had some cross stitch patterns.
Lori Holt does such cute stuff.
She does. Had it for over a year and decided he wanted it done before fall. Yeah. LJ, I really like Jill's fabric roll.
Thanks for looking out, girlfriend.
Y'all. Stop encouraging her. You guys only have to deal with her a couple days a week when we have Stitch and Glitch. I have to deal with her every day. Oh, LJ, 90 degrees? Okay, a dry 90 is not as bad as a humid 90, but still.
Yeah, we're humid. We're humid over here. And it's like 90. Luckily, I was smart today, because you probably noticed that I'm in my
Your atelier. Your atelier.
Which is on the 3rd floor of this house. But I was smart, and when I got up, I texted someone and said, "Can you turn on the air conditioning upstairs for me, please? Because otherwise I'd be dying." So it was already reasonably comfortable when I got up here.
So, Druid.
Like a campfire.
Yeah, you're out in the country, aren't you? You're where you are right now. You're out in the country now, right? So, yeah, you take care of. I think if I remember correctly, you have some family that lives close by, like sort of neighbors. But yeah, you still be careful, girl. We worry about you. But yes, security cameras are a good thing. So if I may change the subject. I'm not going to talk about food, but I didn't have time to go get a chicken sandwich.
I didn't either.
Oh, okay. So Druid has got 92 with humidity. So I feel your pain.
Dude, to be honest, I'm actually surprised it's not hotter than that for you.
Yeah, Arlene. Okay, so California, I feel like y'all's temperatures and weather has been so crazy the last few years. And I mean, climate change, California's had, all kinds of other stuff going on. But yeah, so 71 degrees now. And I feel like when I was in Temecula back in April, I think it was probably like the normal temperatures for you guys then, I think. Yeah. Oh my God, yes. I know the feeling. You walk out into that, and it's like a wall of like soup. You walk to a wall of soup. Robin's 80 degrees.
Yeah,
Possible
I don't miss that
thunderstorms.
about, I don't miss that humidity about living in North Carolina in the summer. There's definitely some things I miss about living in North Carolina, but that sure ain't one of them.
Arlene said our humidity today is 51%, which is high. Oh, I love 51%.
Janet, we're coming to your house. She's having lunch. The sun's shining. It's 65. That's my favorite. And my garden is very stunted because of not much sun. We have cameras on all four corners a lot. My garden's actually doing surprisingly well, although it's very unhappy in this heat.
27%. Okay, that's like reverse humidity, isn't it, Robin? Yeah, so I think see, look at things happening in the chat that we're not even a part of. LJ's got a quilt to donate to Arlene's project. Yeah. So there's a point, like, what is comfortable humidity is like around 40, isn't it around like 40 or 50% is, I don't know. When you get down to like 27%, like, where I think LJ and Robin, you're in a part of the country that you've got some high desert going on, and it's just a totally different atmosphere, a totally different climate. And I mean, I gotta say, I do like the Southwest, and I haven't traveled as much, say, in Nevada or Colorado or Utah, like those places. Although I've been there, so I'm familiar with what it's like. It's just a different hot. And I gotta say, I like it better than hot here. So Janet's humidity is 82. And now that's the one that's like so confounding when you've got the low temperature but the high humidity. That's another weirdness. It's foggy. Yeah, it's so interesting. So Robin's saying when you hit 50% humidity, it gets bad. See, when we're at 50% humidity here, I'm like, yay! Because it's good.
Hold on, let me see what the humidity is here right now.
Yeah. It's all about how you sweat, like what that dew point is and how it makes you sweat. Yes, it's the coast. The coastal stuff is what.
Oh.
Yeah, so Janet's up like around Monterey, and yeah, we're coastal too. You're pretty close to the coast, aren't you? I mean, you're west of Boston, but you're still pretty close.
I'm only 13 miles. Like, I'm only like 13 miles from the coast.
Yeah, I'm a little bit farther, but
it's surprisingly, believe it or not, I lied. It's only 30% humidity here, but it's hot.
Yeah,
it's hot.
It's like what Druid's describing, and like what I felt this week, just going, I mean, like, it's like this wall like smacks you. And Alicia, I think, said a minute ago that your sunglasses fog up. Like, I wear my glasses all the time, so your glasses are cool from being inside, and you walk out and that humidity, it just and I'm like, ah. So yeah, and that's what I keep stressing about the trip to England, because everything I've looked at for their 10-day forecast is like our spring weather. It's rainy, it's in the 70s. It's kind of like Janet's weather. Honestly, it's kind of what it looks like, or the weather that I know some friends up in the Pacific Northwest are having. So that's kind of their normal climate, and that's what I'm seeing on the 10-day forecasts. So with that in mind, I've got the certain set of clothes packed, but I'm so worried that that's going to change, and it's going to be like, oh, whoops, we're having this. Because you remember 2 years ago, when our friend Susanna and when Mary Fonz and a bunch of people were at Festival of Quilts, and they were having a heat wave. They don't have air conditioning very much in the UK because they don't really need it. So I just worry, 82% humidity seems high. Yeah. Layers. Exactly, Arlene. And that's the problem, though. See, I'm trying to pack as minimally as possible, so I've got some very particular layers.
Druid has perspiration eyebrows.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I where was I the other day? Oh, I went to the unit, my storage unit to. I had to pull out a quilt to take a picture for somebody, and then I reorganized a few things and did a little bit of refolding. And I mean, the air conditioning in there, it's a climate control place. It's like nice cold air. But the humidity was so high outside, and just the, like, me, the physical effort of folding quilts and stuff, I realized, like, I'm standing under the blast of air conditioning, but I'm sweating. And it wasn't like chunky lady physical effort sweat. It was that just, it was just that weather is awful kind of sweat. Yeah, I don't like that.
Chunky lady physical effort sweat. I don't know about you, sweetheart, but I could sweat just thinking. Like,
I did not used to be like that, and you guys all know. You guys know I'm a lady of a certain age now.
I've always been like that.
I'm a lady of a certain age now, so I can sweat, like, yeah. Yes,
I'm
get out of the shower, can't dry. Yes, sweating during a shower, like, you're like, is that the shower water? Am I just sweat? I think I'm just sweating.
Speaking of, I have this thing that I've had since I was a kid that I have mentioned to doctors my entire life, but in true being a female form, I've been gaslit about it forever. I always just get, well, do you recover? Oh, okay. So nobody cares. So I don't know what it is. Nobody seems all that concerned about it. But it happens to me sometimes, and most often happens in the shower, especially if I shower first thing in the morning. So what happens is I will be, like, totally fine, and then I will start to feel a little weird. And I have semi-diagnosed myself based on symptoms that what I think it is. But I'll feel kind of weird. And I will start to get this discomfort in the back of my neck. And then my blood pressure will, like, plummet. It will start to feel like my blood is boiling. And I just start to know if I don't lay down soon, like if I don't get vertical soon, I'm going to pass out. I have passed out once in my life from it. And it makes, I'll be in the shower, like it happened to me this morning, actually. I'll be in the shower and I will have to turn the water to, like, absolute as cold as it can go, because I literally feel like I want to take off my skin. Like, I get so hot. And I have to, no matter what I'm doing in the shower, like, I could be, like, washing my hair and I'll know I've got a limited amount of time that I have to try to be as good as I can be, like, rinse the shit out, get out, blah, blah. And I literally, like, finished everything in the shower, turned it off, just put my hair up in a towel and, like, ran to my bed and, like, turned on a fan and just, like, laid down, soaking wet. And then until it passes. Now, based on self-diagnosis of symptoms, it seems to me it is called, because it starts in the back of my neck, cervical vertigo.
Huh.
That's a thing.
Interesting.
But yeah, anytime I've ever explained those symptoms to a doctor, they're just like, well, I mean, like, do you get over it? I'm like, yeah. And you feel okay? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, okay. One time it happened, it was in the middle of winter. I was driving to work at like 5 a.m, back when I had to go in that early. It used to happen more often when I had to get up at 5 a.m. every day. And I remember I pulled over and I couldn't lay down, obviously, because I'm in the car. So what I did, because again, you feel like your blood is boiling. So I, like, ripped off my coat and I am pulled over in a parking lot. And I have the door open. It is like -20 out. I have the door open and I'm literally just hanging out of the door of the car. Like, trying to get as much cool air on me as I possibly can until it passes enough. If I can't lay down, it's not going to pass well enough. But and then obviously I called work and was like, I'm not coming. I'm going home.
So, I mean, is it the kind of thing like when you're not in the shower, are you like getting like cold, clammy sweat, kind of like?
No, no,
Uh,
no cold clamming.
okay,
No.
yeah, because I mean, some of that almost feels like, I mean, I'm no stranger to the panic attack, to the anxiety attack, and
Oh no, it's not pan. No, it's not that at all.
okay, yeah, because those pop up. I mean, I can be. I mean, I'm medicated and mostly don't have those anymore, like I did. But when I was in college, man, I could just be like doing a thing and da da da, and all of a sudden I'd be like, and my vision, and then I'd drop. So, and it was all
Um,
anxiety. It was all panic attacks.
I have had it happen a handful of occasions when I've been somewhere. Like I do remember distinctly in the last 10 years. One time it happened like at a restaurant. I was out at a restaurant with a friend and I start again, it starts in the back of my neck that I start to feel this weird discomfort. Um, and then
Okay,
my
so
head starts to feel kind of lightheaded. And I was with a friend and I was just like, we need to get the bill. Like something's really wrong here. And I went outside and I was in the city and cause I was, they were like, what do I do? What can I do? And I'm like, I gotta lay down. And because you're in the city, they have those kind of benches that are built like anti-homelessness benches that have so I'm like trying to find a place to lay down. I can't lay down on the ground. We're in the city. Um, and I'm just doing my best. And so finally my friend's like, just sit on the bench and I will hold up the back of you. Cause I was basically like, I have to get, because it's blood pressure, right? I have to get my legs above my heart. You know what I
gotcha.
mean? To
Okay.
like help that re-regulate. Yeah. So they were just like, just do it. I'll hold you for a few minutes. And it worked. Um, and then I recover and then I'm fine. It's very weird. It's
So,
very weird.
but I mean, okay, so you said that because doctors have been dismissive. I find that, I mean, not to digress, but I find that it seems like sometimes when you explain a symptom to a doctor, like if you're not actively having it, where they can see it.
Yeah, they're not interested.
Yeah, well, and I mean, in their case, it's like, well, what is like a weird sensation at the back of your neck? Like, if I can't listen to
Well,
your
but
heart or
here's the
take your
thing.
blood pressure while that is happening, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I think that's like often what they say. But my question is like, since you kind of have read about something or investigated something, like what does that mean? Is it dangerous? Is it bad? Is it a thing that's like just a nuisance?
Yeah, it seems like it's just kind of like regular vertigo for people that that's just kind of annoying. And basically like because I don't have I don't have other worrying symptoms, um, then that's, like I think one of them was like I've only passed out once. And I was a kid. I was like 6, 7, maybe 10. I forget, but I do remember the occasion where I passed out. Because I like I intervene before I get to that point. Like I know my body well enough now to know like
Mm-hmm.
we're getting I can like stop it before it gets more serious, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it didn't really seem to be.
You need to
I
get
know
Dr.
Dr.
House.
House.
We'll
I
give
will
him,
say,
give
Janet,
Hugh
I will
Laurie a call.
say it's so here's a couple things. One, it's not something that happens super often. I can go long stints without it happening at all, but I've noticed some trends. One, it's one of those reasons why I do say I don't do well in extreme heat. That often helps bring it on, and that's one reason it probably happens more often in the shower is if I have the water too hot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do try to be cognizant of that. But like in the winter, I'm not gonna lie, like what's better than to, it's really cold and you want to get into Satan's lair because it's nice and toasty warm. So yeah, it does seem to be somewhat heat induced. Uh, so it happens for me sometimes a little more like if I'm doing a lot in the heat, if I'm having kind of maybe like a heat exhaustion,
Mm-hmm.
like, like I told you, I've been doing a lot of housework, like on the first floor. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of sweat, a lot of sweat. You know, stuff like that. So I just try to.
Arlene mentioned the fan. I tell you, these are $10, or they were.
There are you guys. I should take a video of the fan that's in my bedroom.
Oh yeah, you have your neck
That
fan. You have your fan
it
you
is
travel with.
well, there's a fan. Yeah, the fan I travel with is actually in this room right now. But the fan that's like in my bedroom is like a cyclone. And one of the it's loud. It's very loud. And one of the reasons is because this street is very loud, even
Yeah.
at night, because of trucks. So it helps to drown that out. But
Yeah, I have I have a
like,
white noise machine for that.
people make fun of me because I travel with a fan, a smaller, not as small as yours, but like one of those silver fans, like desk fans. People make fun of me because I travel with it, and I'm like, I am done trying to like be polite about my need for comfort when I travel. Like, I don't know why, especially like as women, we're always supposed to be like, oh no, I'm fine with this. Like, no, I'm bringing my pillow and I'm bringing my fan. Thanks.
Yeah.
And neither of those things require someone else to be uncomfortable, you know, in for my comfort. Like most of the time, if I'm sharing a room with someone and I bring my fan, which makes a really nice light white noise, they actually are like, thanks so much, I love listening to your fan. I didn't have to listen to, you know, the noise of the hotel or whatever, or kept it nice and breezy in here, you know, whatever. But yes, Robin is thrilled it's been getting into the 60s overnight there. We've actually had a couple nights here that have gotten down into the 50s.
Yeah,
which is really weird for this time of year. But
yeah,
it's great for doing housework.
I think Janet said, did you say you've had problems with the heat popping on? Because yeah, and Druid keeps her house cold. Yes, your elderly aunt. You know, that's the thing, elderly folks, and, you know, I know lots of you have elderly parents. You know, I have elderly parents too, or yeah, I mean, what's the truth of the matter? I know my husband went to visit his dad recently, and it was one of the heat waves a couple weeks ago, and he walks in the house and he's like, "Oh my God, Dad! Like, turn on the air conditioning. This is awful." And he's like, "Really? I mean, I have it at 78." And we're like, 78.
Yeah. Don't invite me over to your terrarium, you lizard.
But I mean but that's the thing. Like, I mean, as we age, you know, our thermostat does weird stuff, and I mean, women have the vagaries of menopause. Whether, you know, like, seriously, like, I sometimes feel like I'm dying, and my mother was like, "Oh, I don't really have that many hot flashes," and I'm like, aren't these things supposed to be inherited from mothers? Apparently not. So yeah, you know, and I again, like, Janet, that's right. You're doing your Alaska cruise. Yes, your USB fan in a box.
Hell yeah, girl.
Lady, I would be at the store buying a new one. Just in case I couldn't find that box.
You know, it's funny. We were so sure we were going to spend the whole stream talking about food, and we've spent it talking about the weather and being hot.
She keeps her great-grandson and she cooks. She insists on drying his hair. Oh, the elderly. Yeah, Janet isn't always the case. Yes, it's the one thing that you need. Yes, that's the story of my life, LJ. So I hope you find your fan, Janet. If not, get thee to the store and buy a new one. Like I said, I have 5 of these small fans. I, like, you know, $10 at Walmart or $11 at Walmart. Just in case they stop selling them, I stocked up and keep it right by the bed. Like, right by my head when I have to. I have one on my desk. I have one in my laptop bag. I've actually used it to cool my laptop down too. It's got a nice, you know. You know what? If I may, change the subject. here's a fun thing. So you guys know I love the tiny things. Everybody has seen my tiny stuff. But there is this series of little tiny things by that company Miniverse that sells the little resin kits to make the tiny things, little food and stuff. Well, they had this happy hour series, and I'm not a big drinker. You know, neither my husband and I are really big drinkers. At one time, you know, when we were sort of the party animals.
I was gonna say, I have heard some stories.
Yes, there are stories of the reason why we don't drink much anymore. But I have to say, my husband and I, there's a couple of beverages, cocktails that we enjoy very much. And one of them is the Moscow Mule. Or I guess if you make it with Tito's rum or Tito's vodka, it is I guess is it American Mule? I can't remember how they say it. But anyway, the Mule. And you put it in this hammered copper cup that you keep in the freezer, and it's icy cold, and you put crushed ice in it, and it's lime juice and vodka, and I'm trying to think, that might be it. But it's very delicious, and it's very refreshing in the summer. So when I found out that this cocktail series, and here's the little, I'll show you the little, they have the little collector's guide. You know, if you're not familiar with toys, you guys are going to be like, what in the hell? But it's this little collector's guide of all of the little things you can collect. And so when I saw this, and I saw, let's see, there's the Moscow Mule, I thought, oh my gosh, I have to find one of those and make them into Christmas ornaments for me and my husband, because, well, you guys, yesterday I finally got one. And look at these little tiny faux copper hammered little cups.
Oh my god, that's tiny.
Isn't it adorable?
Wait, you're gonna make that tiny thing into one Christmas ornament?
Yeah.
That's gonna be the tiniest Christmas ornament.
Well, I mean, I can make it as the two. As a little tray. It comes with like little coasters and everything. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it comes. Oh, basil. It's got basil in it too. So it's got the little basil and the little limes, and then the tiny bag of crushed ice. And then you have the Moscow Mule. This is the resin. But I mean, real Moscow Mule would just be a bottle of vodka. So, oh, and it's got the little coasters, which are adorable, and the little muddling spoon for stirring. So I was so excited to get this and make this, you know, wee little. It just brought me great delight, and I'm thinking it must be one of the more rare ones. You know, you get into these collectible things. There's the rare ones, but it comes in this little metallic copper box. The little cups. I mean, they just, you know, they make this stuff like really irresistible because it's so cute. But anyway, I was excited to find this one, and you know, for a whopping $4.50, it's you know what I would pay for a Christmas ornament anyway. So I thought it would be really cute. Yeah, thanks, Robin. Yeah, I love tiny things. Oh, Janet. We were going to be unpacked before traveling, but now you're going to be paid. Yeah, isn't it that always the way? You know, you always find, like, you know, something else to do with, you know, whatever your situation is. And it's like you think, oh, we'll get everything all back to normal. Oh, but let's paint. Oh, we'll get everything back to normal. And then it's like, there's no way. We're not getting back to normal before we've tried. I've done that now for the past month. I'll be like, oh, I get this done before I go to England. Yeah, there's a lot of things that aren't getting done.
I do have an unboxing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, it's 3:25 our time. So I know we have, I know we usually go about 2 or 3 hours, whatever, but this might be like if you were interested in doing unboxing for us. I'm not saying you have to, but this might be a good time to do that.
Yeah, I'm bummed. I was hoping to have a different thing arrive. Um, but it did not. So hold on 1 second. Let me just finish off my
So the unboxing that you have is, I'm trying to remember, was this is the auction that you and our collector friend were looking at stuff together?
Yes, but this is only part of it.
Okay.
So here's my newest little trio that I just did.
So are these going to be like, these aren't going to be flowers? Are these going to be like a little, is it kind of like a little design that you're doing? Like,
So they're all little trios.
mm-hmm.
And then my thought is that they'll go together like this.
Okay.
In a row, in
Mm-hmm.
rows. So I have a number of them done in little, I call them little Mickeys. Yeah. Even though they're really not Mickeys.
And so is that random what you're doing there, or do you have like a theme?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's random. No, it's just scrap-a-dappy here because I wanted to try something other than a flower because while I love them, they get boring.
Yeah, they do get old. It's yeah.
And also like the pieces that I'm using to like prepare these with are from one, my chunk scrap stash, so just chunks of things that end up in a bin. But if it's not that, they come from 1.5-inch squares from my scrap user system.
Gotcha.
And in order to do a flower, if I want it controlled, I need 5 of the same one, and that's not as easy for me to come by when I get down into the 1.5-inch square in my scrap stash, because usually that might be I could only get 1 square out of something, Anywho, but I'm thinking that I might do like a row, a row of these together, and then maybe I'll do like a controlled row in between or something.
Gotcha.
But right now I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only have 7 Mickeys done, so I do a Mickey when I get bored of basting a hexie.
Yeah, I think I kind of like that sort of just, creating a pattern. So you got that 2-2-1 sort of thing going on, but then all these interesting patterns emerge once you start to put it together. Mm-hmm. So I think that's fun. Yeah. Oh, Janet said that's okay. I'm learning to let go of expectations. Hallelujah. I love that. It's never too late to learn that skill. I am still working on it. I think a lot of us end up being sort of, I don't want to call it type A because I think that gets overused. But we've always had to be like, we've had expectations of us, particularly those of us that have kids or significant others. And you have this lifetime of expectations. And I personally put expectations on myself. And I think we probably are all guilty of that. So, when you learn to say, yeah, not going to work out this time. Is anybody going to die? Nobody's going to die. It's going to be okay. I think those are the only expectations that you need to be really, really pay attention to, are the ones that have consequences, Yeah. Yeah. The consequence of your pod still being there when you come back, that kind of sucks, but it's not the end of the world. And in my case, my cutting table being still an absolute wreck, my intention was to get that totally cleaned off by the time I leave. It's not going to happen just because I haven't had a chance to organize a few things.
What does the significance of you leaving have to do with you cleaning that off?
Oh, I have, and this is a self-imposed expectation, is, all my life, when you travel, you're sometimes doing this little bit of a crazy thing at the end of the, right before you go. And in my case, it's a matter of like, I need to bring that shirt, or I need to bring that supply, or I need to bring that item. And so I'm just like, and then I leave a big pile and I got to come back to that. And so in my mind, I'm like, I want everything to be nice and tidy, you know, so when I come back home, I can just throw my things in the wash and just be done and not have to like clean up that mess I made searching for something, you know, while I'm trying to run out the door to the airplane. And part of that is my workspace too, not just like my bedroom and my closet drawer, you know, I don't have closets, but my bureau drawers. It's also my workspace because I do have these two pieces. Like that's what's in my mind. I have these two pieces that have to be done, and I want my, you know, I don't want to have to come home and go like, all right, now I got to clean off the cutting table because I got to base this quilt. So yeah, that's what it is for me. But I'm like, that was my own expectation. Nobody put that on me. I put it on myself. So I've just let that go. I'm gonna have to clean off a cutting table when I come back. Yes, Janet and LJ are talking about the pods versus storage units. Yeah. That is the one con that I have found of the storage unit is out of sight, out of mind. When I went in there the other day, I hadn't been in a while. Actually, I went on the 4th of July, but before that, I hadn't been in a while. I'd just been so busy. And when I opened it, I was like, oh, that's where that thing is. Or, oh, that's where these quilts are. The storage unit for quilts. That's where they are. I had been looking everywhere for something, and I was like, you know, I had to smack myself in the forehead. I'm like, I rented the storage unit to get my quilts organized, stored safely, temperature controlled, you know, not in heaps all over my house, but rather rolled and stored properly or folded and stored properly. And I'm surprised when I go there and I've got quilts there. I'm an idiot.
All right, are we ready to look at stuff?
Yes.
So this is from a recent auction that Stephanie and I recorded an auction review yesterday.
Yeah.
That you can watch on the 5th. I think it's the 5th. So if you want to know more about this particular option or other items I'm waiting for from this auction, you can watch that. But yeah, so I got a number of small pieces.
So is this the lot that had the fruit knives?
Yes. And it had fruit knives, some scissors, a darner, and a shoehorn. And I didn't care really about the fruit knives or the shoehorn, but the reason I really wanted the scissors, and the reason I went after the lot anyways, is because I was like, well, those things I don't really care about. I am going to be, you know, knock on wood, everything works out the way it should. I'm going to be having a antique booth at a antique mall in Maine, which I know that sounds far. It's not. It's only an hour away from here. Starting, I think it's going to be September. And so I'm like, I could handle having a few random pieces that don't have anything to do with anything. So I was like, yeah, I got those. But I was like, these scissors are really cool. I'm a little bummed. I couldn't tell from the photo, but the very, very tip of these scissors is chipped.
Yeah.
So that stinks, but they're still very pretty.
Yeah, I in the auction picture, I thought they looked interesting. They've got that that pretty scroll sort of decorative work on the handles. Arlene says, storage, the challenge of my life. Oh, yes. Whether you've got tiny humans in the rooms, or in my case, a big human that won't leave his room. Those are the ones that, when I saw those in the in that lot, I didn't say anything, but I have a reproduction type of scissor like that. They're so pretty. They are not fun to cut with.
And then here's the shoehorn.
Now, the horn part is also metal. I couldn't tell in the picture, the auction picture. I couldn't tell if it was metal or not.
Yep. And
there's these 6 beautiful fruit knives, you guys. This is 6 or 4. Everybody needs a fruit knife, don't they? I'm trying to sell these fruit knives for you.
You're just trying to work because there's other pieces I have that you want. And then I got this darner.
Yep. Like I think I mentioned, I have the egg part. I have two of those. I don't have the handle part because people
Yeah,
people
I mean,
like to pull that off and yeah.
I will say though, like this darner was well loved. It's got damage on it. Yes, I often see these black darners without the handle.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
mine, one of them has like it's a pin. It's like a little I guess it's steel or something, a little pin that held it together. And then the other one, the pin is missing, but it, the hole is there. And I did not understand until much later that what I had was one of those. And that people will pull that handle off because it's silver plate, and they can melt it down, extract the silver plating from it. Too many big humans too. Gathering quotes ideas for a 22-foot wall where I can put something on. It's only 19 inches deep, but doable. Yes, I know those feelings, you guys. I mean, how many, raise your hand if you've got people living with you. I know several of you do. You've got, kids, grandkids, etc. When they come back, they never left. Multi-generational household, exactly. I actually was watching something last night, and one of the characters in this movie was like, that's what they said. We're a multi-generational household. And that has such great aspects, and it also has a lot of pain. Especially when spaces are small. So, okay, go ahead, sorry.
So this came with 6 fruit knives. And
I'm curious to know what makes them a fruit knife.
I don't know, maybe the way the blade's shaped.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
They do all match too.
Oh, they're kind of smaller than I expected.
Yeah, this is only and it's funny if you watch like historic shows. You do see these. This is like 6.5 inches.
I'm curious to know, like, what type of fruit. I mean, is it fruit in general? Is it more geared towards an apple or an orange? Like, I'm not trying to be an idiot. I just, the way it curves up, like, there's got to be.
I had, the way I've seen these used is it's people that are using like an apple or like a pear, and they're taking a bite and using it like that. I don't know if that has anything to do with it being curved, but they're doing that action with it.
Gotcha.
And then like they slice an apple and they take a bite. They slice an apple and they take a bite.
Now, would you be doing that at the table, like with that as a setting?
I don't know. I mean, if some of the historical TV shows I've watched where, they do care about accuracy, it would usually be the dessert course where they'd be having fruit. And on numerous occasions I've seen them using it at the table. But
gotcha.
I don't know. There is an anthropologist I know that does do the anthropology of food and eating, like consuming.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we could find out.
Yeah, that'd be, I've always been sort of, like, I don't feel driven to research it, but I've always been really curious, especially because, like, Victorian era, you have those enormous sets of silver, and you'll have all these bizarre looking things, and, you're like, what on the earth is that? And like the one that we often see, people don't know what it is, and they'll throw it in with sewing items, like, sure, it must be a sewing item, but they're actually grape cutters. So they're like a weird and I'm sure you've seen them. They're like a weird, crazy, like, handle kind of situation, but they have these short little scissory part on the end, and it's for cutting grapes. And I'm like, that's awesome, because how many times I'm digging around in the bag of grapes I bought trying to rip the stem apart, and it doesn't come apart, and I have to go get kitchen shears. Perfect if you have a grape cutter. So yeah, Okay, so fruit knife is a small, sharp knife specifically designed for peeling, cutting, and preparing fruits, typically used for tasks like peeling citrus fruit, slicing apples, or removing seeds from berries. Their smaller side and sharper blade makes them ideal for the delicate nature of fruits, allowing for precise cuts without damaging the fruit's flesh.
And
Yeah,
Janet, could the point be used to stab a bit like cheese?
yeah, and fruit and cheese also often serve together. But you know what? The cheese knives, they have like a little divot in the tip, and that's what I thought those were when you first said fruit knives. I was like, are you sure they're not cheese knives? Because cheese knives look like that. I've seen, and they do. They have, but that tip has like a little. It's like a little. It's almost makes it like a little tiny prong, and that's good for like stabbing the cheese, but. Honestly, like, all of this specialty stuff is so worthless. A good pair of kitchen shears, a sharp knife, that's all you need. You don't need all these fancy things.
you need those kitchen shears to cut your pizza.
Bingo. I don't know if you were there for the am I the a-hole that I did.
No, I was, and I thought you guys were crazy. Like, that's why you have a rotary cutter to cut your pizza.
But the thing is, our pizza cutter just does not work well. It now, it's like I'm rolling it and rolling it and rolling it. It's so much easier to just take the scissors and.
Well, it's almost like it's almost like the blade is dull, just like your rotary cutter.
It's not that old. It's not that old of a thing. It's just easier. The scissors are easier.
Well, if it's not that old, then it's a poopy cutter. Like, it's that simple. Like, get a good cutter. God. Don't give me that look.
I'm giving you the look of like, why should I spend more money on a new pizza cutter when my kitchen shears work just fine?
Weirdo. All right, so here's that quilt.
Ah, the quilt?
Yeah, that we were looking at. So, when we were looking at it yesterday online, and when I say we, I just mean me and Stephanie, so no one thinks they missed anything. We were wondering about the fabrics, and we weren't able to zoom. So this piece here was definitely a purple.
Yeah, that was definitely. I'm familiar with that fabric.
And then I also think this one was a purple.
Yeah, that makes sense. That color, it's still purpley kind of. But it's like a purpley brown. I think that is one thing I've learned when you see like it's like a purpley brown. At one time, it was a much prettier purple.
And then what's interesting here is that some of the quilting, well, there's all different kinds of quilting here. There's some that just have like a simple crosshatch, but then this quilting is like a double rod lattice quilting. In between, I don't know, are you able to like catch that with the light?
Kind of, yeah. I could see it's like a 2 rows. Yeah, it's real faint, but yeah.
And then we do actually have like, this is a brown, obviously. And then you were asking me about this one. This one looks like it was. I guess it could have been a red or like a reddish orange.
Oh, that's right. Like I had asked, because those are like kind of at the top, right? I was wondering, is that possibly a madder, because it is kind of that rusty red.
Yeah, it's also like the problem is like it's got like some it's kind of dirty. So let me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you hold up? LJ said great quilt, but I'm like, LJ, you haven't seen all of it yet. and I mean, it is a great quilt. But it's to me, it's an interesting quilt, because I'm curious to know like I'm really curious to know what it looked like when it was new. When it was newly made.
So this one also was definitely a purple at one point, because it's still got some purpley in it.
The color choice on this is it's just I'm curious like what it really looked like.
Oh, this actually has a tag on it from like the last person that had it.
Ooh.
So it says 92 by 94 stars and baskets. the belonged to Electa Thankful. Forget what her last name
Oh,
was. I
that's
can't
right.
read
This
it.
is the Electa Thankful quilt.
Yeah, and then she lived 1824 to 1907. Oh, and then it says great granddaughter of, and it gives a name and an address. That wasn't in the
Wow.
listing
Well,
for
obviously
obvious
not.
reasons, I'm sure.
Yes, show them, show them, show them.
Oh,
Because
so
yeah,
here's this green. This green has really held together. It's actually green.
yeah, that definitely looks to me like garment fabric. Like that's not. That's dress yardage.
This quilt is pretty heavy, and it's not thick. Where is the top? Nope, that's not the top. Hello, where is the top? Okay. Obviously, you'll see this quilt better if you watch the stream on the 5th because they have a full picture of it, obviously.
Isn't this
So here's
awesome,
the
you
top,
guys? Look at those baskets.
and the stars are in the middle, and the baskets go along the edge.
It's a really cool quilt. Yeah, and it's interesting.
It is large.
Yeah, you'll definitely see if you watched our video that's going to come out on August 5th. You'll definitely see the whole thing. And it's just I'm very curious. Like, what was their vision? Because I just can't quite wrap my head around what this, because that green, that really dark hunter green, and then you've got brown and purple. So, I'm not saying, wow, this might have been ugly when it was made. I just can't get my head around what the colors really looked like. And I'm sure it was a stunner. It just is, it's kind of odd looking now to me because of that really bright green, or not bright green, but significant
Actually,
green.
I'm also wondering if they have the size on it correct because this quilt is big.
True. It matches my hair and eyes and my real name. It's a really pretty quilt though.
Yeah.
And it's in good condition. Like, didn't we identify? And I mean, you obviously got it.
Yeah,
It's
there's
that.
a spot.
Yeah, there's that one
there.
spot. Mm-hmm.
And it's in the star block, it's in the sashing, and it's in like the basket above it. But that looks to be about it. There might be a little bit more, but
yeah. So the fabric
no
itself,
big areas.
the fabric itself is not deteriorating, other than the color changing. So
It doesn't appear so. And to be fair, in that auction, I had no intentions of getting any quilts, but you got to go and watch that stream on the 5th because there's a quilt that I was like, oh, I'm going to get that. And it went low. I was willing to go higher. There was clearly like a computer glitch because it said that I won it. And then it said I didn't.
yeah.
And then they closed it out and sold it to whoever, and I was willing to go higher, and I was pretty salty about it. And you can ask Steph because she's seen it now. It's a pretty cool quilt.
It is. It was a neat.
So yeah, so I ended up with this one as a consolation prize, which I did get for a low price. And I'm not unhappy. This is a nice quilt.
Yeah.
So but for someone that like wasn't like I had my sights on other things, this particular auction was very heavy in sewing tools. And cool ones. I mean, you saw those lots. Those were some great mixed lots.
Yeah. This is just another case of, we've both done this. I accidentally won a quilt in an auction.
Well, I kind of said to myself, so I did this auction with a friend. We bought some lots like together to split. And we watched it live. It took like 5 hours. We stitched all day, Like we were on like video call the whole time we were watching the auction, and stitched and gabbed and stuff like that. So that was nice. Um, and I did say like I don't plan. There were like I don't know 6 quilts or something in the auction. I'm like I don't plan on buying any quilts. Nothing is like oh my god for me. But I was like if one or two are going pretty low, then like I'll jump in to get a deal. But like I'm not really here for the quilts, and that's what happened. So, but when I lost the other one, I was pissed. And then was like, well, I'm not leaving now without a quilt.
You know what? Speaking of auctions today, and I promise I'm not going to digress this, but I wanted to check in. Dana's got an auction today, doesn't she?
Oh, that's right. I purposely was not paying attention to the messages about it because I've just spent a ton of money on other options.
Oh my gosh. I shouldn't have
Are you
looked.
gonna?
No, it's.
Are you gonna...
I just. She's at this. She's at the swatch books because this one had swatch books. This was a fabric one. These are some.
Oh yeah, because she would have started at like 9, right?
Yeah. I think she usually starts at 11. Yeah, these are swatch books that are going for hundreds of dollars. So.
Like they're selling well.
Yeah. 1860s to 1900 silks, 1100 pieces of silk swatches, 425. These are not factory books. These are people like our friend Mia has.
These are dress diaries.
Yeah. You probably hear the little click.
I don't, but I have a fan on in the room.
Yeah.
Was there any, like, did you actually go through and look at that auction at all? Like, was there anything that you actually were like, oh,
I never did.
Me either. I went through a little bit of it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get wrapped up in auctions. Like we were talking about when we were recording our video yesterday. It's so easy to get like auctions. If you pay attention, like auctions like kind of snowball. Once you like really start paying attention to them and you like have an auction that has like a lot of stuff you want, then like another one pops up and then another one pops up. Like there's a lot of stuff floating around out there in the auction world. Arlene says, I need to destash. I looked, but avoided logging in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked briefly, and I do remember getting the text message this morning that, like, it's starting, but I purposely didn't look. I have recently spent a lot of money on auctions because for some reason, this past quarter has really been a season of sewing tools in auctions. And I have purposely focused a little more on that than quilts just because they take up a lot less space.
Yes,
Quilts
absolutely.
take a lot of space. So I have have considered putting some quilts in an auction or two, just to move some a little faster.
You know,
because they take up so much.
That, you know, you're mentioning that. I'm actually kind of interested in that too. Like, how? I mean, do you just approach the auction house and ask? You know, I know I've seen signage at my local auction house, and I've just never inquired. And I don't know, like, I guess maybe some of them have limits, or they can say like, yeah, we're not interested in auctioning your stuff.
No, some of them, I don't know that I've ever seen Dana do it because people just go to her with quilts and she's booking out, you know, like the next year or something. But there are other auction houses, like one of the other auction houses we looked at on our recorded video was New England Auctions, and they put out calls. Like they schedule certain auctions throughout the year that have themes like Americana and Shaker and stuff like that. And then they, like, if you're got an account with them, they put out calls that they send, say, now consigning for these auctions. And then you message them. Like, I've looked through like what the process is. A lot of their websites will say like buy with us, sell with us, and talk you through the process. And most of them, it looks like they want you to send like they might have like a form to fill out and they want you to send photographs. And I have seen a lot of them that at the bare minimum, what they'll give you is a free estimate of what they think it's worth. And then from there, I guess both parties kind of decide, is this worth, like they might say like, this is worth blah, 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 but it's not good for this auction. Or you might say, I wanted to make sure I was getting more, never mind, kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
Is there stuff you're considering putting in auction?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there's some of my quilts where I'm like, I'm not in love with them anymore, but I guess, using my local auction house kind of as a rule of thumb, I don't know that, you know, some of my stuff kind of has some condition issues, and I know they tend to lump those into lots, and they don't, we're talking a couple $100 at tops, and I don't, I mean, I don't know what the split, like how much the consignor gets versus
that's one thing that like I'm in ones that I've just like looked at like what their process is. That's one thing that they're not upfront about at all. None of them post like what their commission rate is.
Gotcha. That's the word I was looking for, the commission, because we know that the buyer's premium is part of the auction house's income, but the other part of their income is, if I put stuff up for auction, I'm not, and it sells for $100, I'm not getting $100. I'm splitting that with the auction house because they did the work, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the reason would be that you wouldn't be upfront about your commission rate.
Well, I mean, I would assume if they accept your stuff, then they're going to tell you. But maybe it's one of those things
but why wouldn't you just have it on your website? You've got your buyer's premium on your website.
But maybe because commission is not consistent the way buyer's premium is. I don't know. This is one of those things where we don't know what we don't know, and it's almost like,
you know what stinks too is if you remember, oh my God, I forget their name. Remember I told you when we were in Terrytown at AQSG seminar, I went on a field trip one of the days. You weren't with me, and I sat next to someone that works in an auction house.
Yeah.
And I told you, and that's the person I asked if they have a cutoff for the buyer's premium when you get up to a certain, and she was one who was like, no, it's based on everything. In hindsight, I should have asked her
about commissions,
about the consigning things. Yeah, well, and I was even like, if I could remember her name off the top of my head right now, we could message her, but I can't remember her name. I feel like an awful person. She was really nice.
The one thing I like about Dana's site is when you're looking at an item, it'll tell you, it has the little calculation for the buyer's premium. So like if you're looking at something and it's $15, it'll have the little thing in there that says the total of this is going to be $18.87 with tax and buyer's premium.
It's so easy to get into a lot of trouble
if you're not paying attention to that
premium, if you're not paying attention.
But that's what I was just saying, like what I enjoy about her site.
Yep, I have to say, Dana's very thoughtful in a lot of the things that she does in her business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. This is interesting. I'm listening, and I'm scrolling through here because there's actually wallpaper books in this one.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting stuff, but.
How did the quilts do?
Let's see.
Bye, Arlene. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Bye, Arlene.
We love hanging out with you.
Oh, thanks for my wishes for my trip. Um, yeah, I'm not watching the her, the actual auction,
Live
the live auction
ticker.
piece. I'm just looking at, so when she'll start talking about stuff, but yeah, and it'll say $10. Another bid is pending. All of a sudden, when she like opens it, it's like bam, 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 bam. It goes from $10 to like 150, like right away. Yeah, these are, but yeah, so they're yeah, these are quite interesting.
Are you looking at wallpaper books?
No, I'm just looking to see like what they are exactly. Can you hear the noise?
Not really. It's pretty noisy in my room over here. So, I don't know if I can't remember if I got to tell everyone or not. I did, if you were watching with us on Tuesday, when we listened to some of a radio show,
Mm-hmm.
that Lori Labar was on a panel for. And they were mentioning how there's an exhibit that opened at the Maine Historical Society, which is in downtown Portland. Um, and it was part one, and part two will be up when Stephanie and I are in Portland in October. And I had said, like, hey, I gotta ask Lori, like, are AQSG people gonna see those quilts? Should I run up there? Blah, 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 blah. So I did message Lori, and she did get back to me really quickly and said that it's a small exhibit. Right now it's like 4 or 5 quilts or something like that. And then other ones that are on a bed that I guess will still be on a bed when we get to town. But she did say that we won't be able to see them in October. So it is worth my while to get up there. And then she also said that that particular museum is very open to photos and sharing and, all kinds of stuff like that. Um, so I do, in my brain, have a plan to run up there and, uh, you know, get us some fun things to look at. And I have other news. Oh my God. I can't believe it took me this long to remember to tell you. Um, so I'm taking advantage too of the fact that you'll be out of town and that we won't have a stream on the 5th. Um, and a girlfriend of mine, the one that lives in Virginia in Chesterfield,
Mm-hmm.
that's my one of my long distance besties. Um, she called. She didn't call. Who am I kidding? She messaged me out of nowhere, and was like, hey, my daughter and her daughter is in college, um, are gonna take a quick trip up to Vermont, the beginning of August, if you like want to come meet us up there. And they're going to Burlington, which is high up in Vermont, and it's on like the water. Um, and I was like, huh. And she, gives me the days, which is like the first week, and she's going like Sunday to Friday or something. And I was like, well, let me see. And I work at the library on Wednesday, and it's not a big deal for me to like, not go in one day, but I was like, I'm gonna try to still, make it to the library. Um, so I've decided she's coming in on the Sunday. I'm gonna go in on the Saturday and leave on the Tuesday, and then her and her daughter still have some time to, mom and daughter it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like 3.5 hours away, I think, and I plan to antique my way up there because I've really never done any antiquing in Vermont. Um, but also, guess what's 15 minutes away? The Bennington Museum.
Oh, okay.
No,
Where'd
wait.
your
No, wait. No, wait, I'm lying. It's the
Oh, okay.
Shelburne.
Oh, okay, the Shelburne. still the Shelburne. The Bennington
Mm-hmm.
has the Dear Jane, and I think is Dear
Right.
Jane out this summer, I think.
Dear Jane is on display from Labor Day through Indigenous Peoples Day. So we'll just miss it before seminar, but even still,
Yeah.
I remember one of our friends was like, oh, we should let people know if they want to come to New England early. That is such a detour
Oh, yeah.
from Portland, Maine. Like that's a
Gotcha. Yeah.
massive detour. You really have to, I think it's a good 5 hours. That's a big
Okay.
detour. So so I do remember I did look up the Bennington, and it's 2.5 hours from where I'm gonna be in Vermont. So the Bennington is in the bottom of Vermont, but it's on like the western side of Vermont. So even from me here, it's a good 2.5 hours. So and then I was even like, maybe I could hit it on the way home, but it turns my 3.5 hour car ride into a 5 hour car ride.
Yeah.
So I said to Sunday, I was like, when they put it, because I'm with you, I want to see the Dear Jane quilt. So I'm like, when that comes out in, September, I'm like, why don't we just go over to Vermont? Because he really hasn't spent any time there ever. We went once for an anniversary. I forget what town we went to. We stayed in a bed and breakfast, which was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And the place was lovely, but even he was like, oh, I'd like to visit Vermont more. So I'm like, let's just like go for a night in, that month that they have the quilt out.
Yeah, that's a fun trip. Like, to make that your destination versus trying to tack it on. And then you can.
But I'm definitely going to go to the Shelburne.
Electra Havermeyer and her Shelburne Museum are a brilliant thing.
Oh my God, Janet got married in Bennington, Vermont almost 49 years ago.
Oh, wow. Are you originally from the East Coast, Janet? I know we've
Janet, that's a long time to put up with a man.
Hey, I'm 30 years this year.
Yep, it's a long time to put up with a man.
And of course, mine is he's in the next room, and sometimes I just assume because he tunes me out when I'm sitting right next to him talking to him, so I assume that he tunes this out. Sometimes he does not. Sometimes I'll finish up streaming and shut everything down and go in the next room, and he'll be like, a case in point. I think this was on my stream. He was working from home from the other day. It was my Monday stream, and he had gone to Costco and bought what he thought were those little snack bags of chips that you put in like a lunchbox. What it turned out to be were literally the airplane size, and it was Frito-Lay, so it was like Doritos and you guys, the Doritos are like so tiny, they're so cute, and the Cheetos were actually like little balls instead of like Cheetos. Well, I said something to the effect of, well, they're so tiny, like I've noticed he and my son are grabbing like handfuls of them, instead of just one bag. And he's like, I will have you know, the most I have eaten at one time was 2 bags. And I was like, I will issue a retraction. I was like, I can't believe he's listening. So yes, I've issued a retraction. My husband has not eaten more than 2 small airplane bags at one time, and my son probably eats 4 at a time. So even yeah, Janet painting. Oh, that's something that I just. But in his defense, it's the best time, right? All the stuff is out of the house. Right? Choosing the colors is a problem. Yeah, I remember we've had some strife over that too. Okay, so you're near you were from upstate New York. Okay. Yeah, I'm still looking at these beds. Sorry. Yeah. I think this is a pretty fortuitous auction for Dana today.
Well, why are you
Um,
keeping the numbers a secret? Like,
I
what are
because
they?
I got sidetracked. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't realize there were quilts in this. I thought this was all textiles or just like fabric.
I
Um,
told you there were quilts.
okay. So starting with lot one, antique 1830 sold 1830 chintz 9 patch sold for 550.
Oh, good.
Um, we got a really pretty pineapple quilt 1890 sold for 500. See, we have
Well, that's good.
a Sharon Schnitte quilt, so the paper cut. 1896 went for 425. A lot of these are in the 200, 250. Um, antique 1860 peony wreath quilt 400. I'm picking out the highest prices I see here. Yeah, I see another 400. Ah, a vintage Paragon kit quilt went for 110. Yeah, I mean these are definitely lower prices. That these are ending with. Oh, here's a really cute lot. Two vintage children's quilt tops with a doll quilt went for $50. Yeah, it looks like there's one or two that went for 500, 550, but everything else is less than that.
I'm also um taking a day trip out to Nantucket for the first time in my life. Because there is a exhibit on Nantucket at their whaling museum called Beyond the Seams that has quilts and clothing and things like that from Nantucket there.
Cool.
And the New England Quilt Study Group had been discussing when we went to Block Island. We had been discussing that exhibit. Someone brought it up. I mean, I saw Barbara Brackman shared it online, and one of the gals brought it up. And I had just kind of posted in our Facebook group, kind of just, are people interested in trying to kind of get a group together to go see this, even if it's not an event where we get a turning and everything, just to go with your friends in their off season. We would never go right now. And their off season starts in September, when kids go back to school and everyone's not, vacationing. So we did reach out to them. We can't get a turning, but we're at least going to get a gallery tour. And that's in September, and we just booked that. But holy God, Nantucket is expensive.
Well, yeah, I mean that's all that coastal touristy.
There's stuff I was looking just I had put together a last minute PDF to send out, and if there's anyone listening that wants to go, please do. It's September 14th. Please do email me at quiltnerding@gmail.com, and you are welcome to come. I put together a PDF of all kinds of information for people, ferries. There's lots of ways to get to Nantucket from a lot of different places. So one thing I looked at was some lodging, because obviously some people coming will need overnight lodging no matter what. And I just looked on the island just in case, maybe their prices plummet, in September, whatever. $800 a night was the low end. I even looked at a couple you could do little rental houses. I even looked at a couple of those, and we're just I don't know, maybe we can get 4 people that. Oh my God. So it was LJ 800's the low. There was upwards of like $10,000 a night. Like it was
I mean, that's more
insane.
expensive than New York City. Like Manhattan is
It was apparently Nantucket has been rated like one of the top islands. I again, I've never been there. So
I'm also
and then
wondering if they kind of keep it high to keep like to kind
yeah,
of manage the
gentrified.
well, yeah, I mean to kind of manage the tourism. Yeah.
Um, so I will say that some of these resorts, these small resorts, they're not big resorts. Some of them I looked at, they were very nice and had really nice amenities. So I will say, like, if you ever did want to splurge, it did seem that there was a lot to offer. Just, saying. But on
Well,
top of that, so keep in mind, um,
Alicia
oh
said it's
yeah,
disappearing
Lisa's
into the sea.
disappearing. Yep. So keep in mind that my comparison here is us going to Block Island, which is also it's very expensive. Not as expensive, but it's another very wealthy island community. Nantucket is also a bigger island, I think, from what I was reading. Um, but anywho, the prices of the ferries to get there, oh my God. I think Nantucket, or I'm sorry, I think Block Island. I want to. I feel like the ferry. Don't quote me here, but if I'm remembering, I feel like the ferry ticket was maybe like $28 or something like that to not bring a car, just your human. The ones for Nantucket, they're at least like $45 one way.
I mean, I can on a if I book far enough in advance, I can take a train all the way to Massachusetts for less than that.
Well, keep in mind too, another way to get to Nantucket is by plane. Like the
Mhm.
seaplanes, you can take those
Mhm.
like out of Boston and stuff like that. I didn't even look into those. But I looked into ferries from Hyannis. That's apparently the most common way to get there. Hyannis is on the Cape. Um and then I was looking at some other places like New Bedford is another, but New Bedford was like $99 round trip. And I'm like, for a day pass. And I was like, wow, that is
Yeah.
that is really expensive.
Yeah.
So one saving grace is on the island. They have a bus system called the Wave, and it is free, and you can ride it all over the island.
Yeah,
So
they
it's like
feel
I was
bad
like,
because they know they charged you $1 million to get there.
yeah.
Like, all
I
right,
thought
you're
that
here
was
now. You're here now.
cool.
You can ride for free.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool just to kind of if you wanted like a scenic tour of the island,
Mhm.
then like there's all these like historic things you can do. Like the downtown is really walkable because it's so small, obviously. And there's all these old historic buildings. There's like these walking tours, self-guided walking tours you can do. Um and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, it looks like we can kind of make it worth our while. I did find a bunch of restaurants that seem pretty reasonable compared to how expensive restaurants have gotten.
Mhm.
And when I say reasonable, I mean like their average plate is, $10 to $20, which is everywhere now. So there's that. So here's hoping that like we have nice weather that day and that's a nice trip. And of course I will share all kinds of
Yeah.
things that I
Yeah, that'll
can
be
share
exciting.
with you guys. And I
Yeah.
do plan to spend the night in Hyannis, which had human prices because that's the off season for the Cape. So like, $100 to $200 a night for,
Mhm.
a hotel. Obviously you could go with the fancy schmancy stuff, but um yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I can live with like $200 a night, or
oh yeah.
maybe even a little more for like a fancy like me and
Yeah,
the
if you
hubby
wanted a
trip.
little splurge. Yeah, if you want a little
Yeah,
splurge.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, yeah.
I will say my partner is going to come with me on that. That is a trip that we are, husbands and family like bring up, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because this Block Island was a curated trip for the group where we had a whole day at the museum, we had lunch with them, we had, things. This isn't that. This is more so just getting friends together to go see an exhibit that's hard to get to. And then I gave a whole list of other things to do. And then it's kind of like it's up to you after that. Do you want to stay together with people to go on to, there's these other museums, and like historical societies and things like that right in downtown, or if you want to go off on your own or with your husband, like there's no expectations.
Right. Yeah.
So Sunday's gonna come with me, and we're gonna spend the night in Hyannis because he's also never been to Nantucket. And since we're going to their museum on a Sunday, we can go down on like a Saturday and fart around Hyannis, which I don't think I've really spent a ton of time in.
Maybe trip over at Kennedy. Isn't Hyannis like where the Kennedys had their compound? Their compounds. Hyannisport, yeah. I'm not saying JFK necessarily. I'm thinking I'm talking like the Kennedys in general. Or
yeah, I don't pay much attention.
I believe the Joe Kennedy rum running was happening out of, the reason why the Kennedys have had and have so much money was the Depression and the rum running. So, and just a side note, because you haven't jumped on the stream a whole lot lately, and I know you're busy. But we have been reading The Secret of the Crazy Quilt, and that takes place in Sewell, Massachusetts. Which I'm assuming it's a coastal. It's they do mention Boston. It's like and of course this book is taking place like in the 1926 as part of the narrative in the 1940.
It's not a town I'm really familiar with. Can you spell it?
Sewell. And that's the thing. It might be made up. I don't know. I'm not so familiar, but it's like in the story, it's a train ride from Boston, and it's coastal because they're doing a lot of sailing and.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to be a town. I'm wondering if it's one of those scenarios where it's a neighborhood of a town.
Could be. They mentioned something called Houghton Landing too, Houghton, and I'm guessing that might also be like a pretend made up place.
So let's see. There's something called Houghton's Pond but see, here's the thing. That's in Milton, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, with it taking place early and mid 20th century, and it was written in 1972. So yeah, I suspect, but it is like, it's talking about rum running, and there's this quilt that's the reason why I chose to read the book, but it's turned out to be interesting. The characters are interesting and stuff. So anyway,
how far into it are you? Like, how many streams?
Oh gosh, I do and it's interesting. The book is cut up into weird chapters. The way it's like these long narratives. I'd say we're about halfway through, a little more than halfway through.
So I was gonna say maybe I'll go back and watch those while you're gone.
Actually, Robin bought the book. I believe it was, if I remember correctly, it was $8 on eBay. So, but yeah, it's actually a young adult book. It's a young adult fiction, but I think it's been pretty good. And just as we read it, I keep thinking, like, I have this picture in my mind of what this place looks like, and while I have traveled to that area, I can't say I've been like in any of these super nice tourist areas like Hyannisport or anything. So, or I don't even know, is that even a tourist area? Like, that's an area where it's
the entirety of Cape Cod is a tourist area.
It's tourist, yeah. Okay. And things like Long Island and the Hamptons and like all those places, I have in my mind kind of what they look like from what I've seen on TV and stuff, because I haven't really visited there in any kind of substantial way. So anyway, I have these images as we're reading this book, and that's kind of what pops up in my head.
Oh, so it would be nice if I'm like giving you like some footage from Nantucket. And
yeah.
You did see some photos and stuff from like Block Island.
Yeah, I thought that was really beautiful, Block Island.
I am taking some steps to make sure that I can get more footage than I had gotten when we went to Block Island. I'm a little bummed that I didn't think more about footage. what was I gonna say? Speaking of though, of these like, historic things in Massachusetts towns and stuff. So yesterday, Sunday and I went to Andover, Mass, which is on the, it's eastern side. It's not a coastal town, but it's on the eastern side, and it's in that Metro West kind of greater Boston band that you often see carved out when you look at Massachusetts. And then I had to pick up something from Facebook Marketplace that was a lot of Victorian trade cards. And it was around traffic hour. So we decided, because we had to come back down to the Natick area to pick up Sunday's car from our Subaru mechanic. And so we decided to take the back roads because the highways were... So we're taking the back roads, and I'm using a little bit of GPS because I could have figured some of it out, but it really took us like neighborhood roads. Anyhow, we end up at one point driving through Concord, which I love. Oh my God, if you've never spent time in Concord, it is just so idyllic. I don't know why they don't film more movies there, because it has such a high concentration of historic homes that have been maintained, that people live in. You see a lot of them torn down now. Like, this place has a lot, especially towards the downtown area. Anywho, I've always talked about how much I love Concord. I'd love to live there. It is astronomically expensive to live there. I was commenting about how one thing I hate is it's everything there. Like, I mean, most properties there are probably over $1 million, and yet they have no land. Like, there's like no land.
Well, I remember that little, not to digress, but I remember that little island when we visited our friend Dawn in Minneapolis, and she took us on that little island that's right there.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
I was like, and we're like Zillow, like glancing at Zillow on these things, and it's like, these places are, I mean, they're gorgeous, they're old, they have about this much grass in the front of them, and probably no backyard, and it's like, yeah, obscene prices on these homes.
Like, for that little island thing, that totally makes sense. But like Concord is
it's all about
people...
location.
Well, yes, but there isn't anything about Concord that's that amazing location-wise,
except for amazing, well-maintained historic homes.
But that's it. Like, it's not. But it's not one of those things where like, well, it's really close to the city, or it's. I mean, it's not. It's average. It's just a very gentrified, wealthy town at this point. And that's one of the reasons all those historic homes exist, because, money. But anyways, I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm just like, I just love driving. It's so pretty. And we're coming up somewhat on downtown, which is very cute. I highly recommend you visit downtown if you're ever in town. There are some antique stores there. There's some cute little restaurants. It's a very nice little walkable thing. But I look over as I'm driving, and I'm going to admit that I've been a poor Massachusetts resident. By poor, I mean like poor in my duty, and haven't visited a lot of things. And I look over and I see a sign, and we were driving by Orchard House. And I look, I'm like, is that, oh my God, this is a Little Women house. Orchard House. Oh, wait a minute. Are you the one that hasn't read Little Women?
Yes. My friendship with Alicia is now under review because I admitted that.
Have you also not seen the Susan Sarandon version of Little Women?
I've seen some of it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
Some of it?
I'm gonna rectify this situation, okay? Druid's like, I have also read Little Men, so...
At the bare minimum, Stephanie, at the bare minimum, you have to see the, Claire Danes version of Little Women because of the visuals. Like, reading the story is one thing, but you'll. Okay. So anyway,
I will rectify this situation.
You can visit the house, the orchard house, um, in Maine. It's actually not where I thought it was, which is why one reason I was so shocked to see it. Oh yeah, see now everyone's like, you have to read. Oh, apparently you have to read Little Men. Little Women's one of my absolute favorite books of all times. Druid wrote a research paper about Louisa May Alcott.
And Janet makes a good point. I have a long flight. Read the book. Gosh darn you people. You and your peer pressure about things that make total sense.
Especially, but you do a lot of books on tape. So I feel like you have even less of an excuse.
Yeah.
So I'm driving by. I'm like, oh my God. And then like up the street and like over a little bit is this big, huge, like state-of-the-art building that says like the Concord Museum. And I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know. I have heard their historical society referenced a few times because they've got quilts. But I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, Concord
has a lot of war history.
Yeah, I was gonna say Concord is a lot of Revolutionary War history, right? Like the shot heard round the world or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and it's really not far from me at all. And so I was saying to Sunday, I was like, I kind of feel like I feel bad. I don't know why I feel bad because like feel bad to who, but I don't know. There's a part of me that's just like. Well, there's just a part of me that's like, this is not far from me. I've lived in this area my entire life, other than, 2 years in the South. I don't have a good excuse for like why I haven't, seen those things. Yeah. Especially because the best part, and I mean, this in being in proximity to things like DC and all the museums and stuff out there, is like I have the ability to see these things in off seasons.
Right.
So I can't be like, oh, all the tourists, I can't, I like, and I guess also like in going to places like up Block Island and Nantucket, I'm kind of feeling a little more like I really need to go and like see these places, especially with given, funding cuts and the uncertainty of how things are going to play out for, I'm like, I need to go.
Yeah.
I need to go.
I think we all probably do a bad job of, if you live in an area that's really rural and just doesn't have those kind of things, I mean, I understand. But I think the rest of us that live close enough to cities or have, live in regions that have a lot of like, arts and history and that kind of thing, you kind of get like, I don't know, you get lackadaisical about it and you think, oh, I could go there anytime. So anytime becomes never. I think about the fact that, like, I mean, I grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, if I've never mentioned that. Fredericksburg is a hot spot in the, on the map of history in the United States because, first of all, it is, like, pretty much, like, it's a little north of the halfway mark between Route 95 in Maine and Route 95 in Florida. Goes straight down the East Coast, and Fredericksburg is, like, almost dead center. A little bit north of that. And so it's got that kind of aspect to it, even though it's this tiny little postage stamp of a town. But it's also got really major, big time Revolutionary War history because George Washington was born close by. George Washington's mother lived in Fredericksburg. Her house is still there. It's, I visited it many times as a kid, never appreciated it. Haven't been back as an adult. That's the thing. I'm like, I'm kicking myself because so many of these things I got to see as a child, I was just like, oh, another battlefield. Oh, and, yeah, I mean, I'm so close by to these things. I never appreciated them.
Well, I mean, on the one hand, if you weren't interested, why would you?
Well, when I was 10, I wasn't interested, and I was forced to visit them.
That's what I mean. And the other day, Sunday and I were in Sturbridge, Mass. Because he was. I'm giving you a chance to recover yourself.
I know. I got that tickle.
he was meeting with a client, and I really like some antiquing in Sturbridge, and it was a very fruitful day for me. But anyways, we ended the day. I ended up going to this cute like coffee house restaurant place that's right next to the entrance to Sturbridge Village. And I will say this coffee house place, while they have great stuff, is hella expensive. And between me and Sunday, we spent $70 there.
At a coffee house?
We each got like a frou-frou drink. We each got a sandwich. We split a small bowl of chili. And then we each got a sweet treat to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to $70.
Yeah, no surprise.
It was amazing. But anywho, when we're leaving, it was 90, like 95 that day. But I was like, I really got to get my butt to Sturbridge Village because I haven't been since I was a kid. I don't even remember anything about it. And he was like, yeah, I never went like on a field trip or anything like that. And I was like, yeah, we really got to go at like the end of the season because oh my God, it's too hot. It's way too hot. So hot. But I'm like, yeah, I haven't spent any time there. Like I'm really feeling like I need to make some of that stuff more of a priority in my life because it's close. Like it's only like an hour away. Like what excuse do I have not to go?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I have to mention, Janet mentioned a little bit earlier, the area where she lives, I'm also very familiar with because I've a family, Rob's sister lived not too far from there. And for work, I've traveled in that area, like the, Palo Alto, Silicon Valley, and you go up the coast. And so she's living around Pebble Beach, Carmel by the Sea, Big Sur. I mean, you have like some beautiful places. I mean, it is just to take that drive, up the coast is just breathtaking. It is one of the most pretty places in the world. And that is why it is hella expensive to do things there. But let's see. Where did she give us? She gave us some prices. Okay. So Pebble Beach, if you're not familiar, big golf course there. They play many major tournaments there. So the greens fee is just under $700.
Oh my God.
Now, greens fees are not a cheap thing. Like my dad played golf all my life, and it's not a cheap sport.
Mine too.
It's not really a cheap sport. So green fees can be kind of pricey, but $700 for greens fee, I mean, that just makes me go like, what? Like, is the grass made of gold? But you also have to stay at the lodge for 3 nights minimum. And that is $1,065 a night. So that's pretty much like, I'm going to go play golf at Buckingham Palace, basically.
My dad, when he moved to Florida with his second wife, I say that because he's
on the third one now, right?
He lived in a gated community in Naples, and this gated community had its own golf course. That's what his backyard was a golf course. Yeah. The golf course, even though he lived in this gated community, it was too expensive for him to belong to his own golf course. So I'm kind of like, what was the point of that? I also remember because I stayed at that house for like 2 weeks when he was selling it to do the closing for him because he was starting some cancer treatment. But I remember like one of their HOA, I will never live in an HOA like that. One of their rules was you could not, they had garages, you could not have a car parked in your driveway overnight.
Yeah.
Overnight. At night. Because it didn't like how it looked. Now this neighborhood, while I was paying attention, now my dad's car wasn't fancy. It was the car I was driving was like a Yukon, nothing fancy. But most of the residents were driving, BMWs and whatever. And I'm like, so it looks trashy then? You're worried about a BMW in the drive? Like that looks overnight? Like these aren't souped up Honda Civics, from the 90s. Like, Like,
or a car on cinder blocks, like things
yeah,
that I
like,
drive.
like, and it's at night. I'm like, if anything, if like the only way that rule could make any possible sense was if you didn't allow them in the driveway during the day, like, because then people see them. But I'm also, it was a 2-car garage. It was funny. They had a 2-car garage, every house, and then they had like a mini garage for your golf cart, which my dad didn't have.
Yeah, a lot of people in
a
those
lot of-
communities in Florida have those golf carts. Yeah.
Yep. And the house had 5 bedrooms. So I was like, it's a 2-car garage. Like, what if you have a house of 4 teenagers?
They don't
Like,
get
what
to
are
park their
you-
cars in the garage, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I'm just like, what do you do? The only thing I do remember is the driveways there are very small.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very much just driveway garage. Like there's no like extra
Like
parking
go around the
even.
back or something.
Or even just like the house here, it has like a long driveway next to the house, and then the front of the house has a round.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the driveway in Natick, it's like a long driveway, and then like it has like a big square area where you could park cars facing different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Their driveways are very just like road and garage. Dip, dip,
Yeah.
boop, you know. It was very interesting driving a Yukon. Like the Yukon was so big that I even had to park it at an angle in the garage. Like,
Well, I mean, as ridiculous as those restrictions seem to me, I mean, I would simply not live in a place that had such a restrictive homeowners association rules.
oh no, I agree.
You know, and I don't know.
I even met the homeowners association president. She came over one day while I was at the house, and I was like, "This is so inappropriate."
Yeah, because she's like, this Alexander gentleman has some riffraff at his house. Let me go investigate.
Yeah.
Oh, it's his riffraffy daughter. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, I look at some of those homeowners association things, and like, I don't know. I look at them as like, oh, how dare they tell me? But you know, I just wouldn't live in one because, you know, I'm gonna park my car in the driveway and it's gonna look like what it's gonna look like. Because I drive a car that's 23 years old now. And Druid and I have that in our our sisterhood of the Subarus. I think hers is newer than
are in the sisterhood of the Subarus.
Old Subarus, girl. I know you're in the sisterhood of the Subarus, but yours are new Subarus.
Well, no, one of them. I mean, Sunday's the one.
Yes,
Has my mom's car.
Sunday's has a used one. Yeah, well, mine's a 2002. So anyway, yeah, okay. Then Sunday can be in the sisterhood of the.
I was gonna say. Well, also I was gonna say like my last Subaru. The only reason that I'm not driving it is because it was an issue not worth fixing.
Right. Yeah.
Not
so
because
anyway,
I couldn't or wouldn't.
my point here being, I am sure if we had a homeowners association, if I lived in a community, that, you know, I would definitely be getting fined, in trouble, etc. Because my car is an absolute heap. But it runs, and that's all I care about. I don't care how it looks. And I guess homeowners associations in some cases are about property values and maintaining and consistency. And I understand all that. But I also think it's a little bit of kind of snooty how things look and judgment of other people.
Yeah, I don't think HOAs are really ever in a positive perspective, to be honest.
Well, I think about condos, you know, in big cities like New York and stuff, and you have condos with homeowners.
Well, that's a little different. There's a lot less to control.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I just know growing up, the neighborhood that was like right down the street from my parents' neighborhood. And on my parents' neighborhood, I mean, you know, middle class. There were actually a lot of older people there when my parents moved in, and you know, there was a handful of kids my age, but a lot of those families moved. But anyway, I mean, no homeowners association, nothing like that. But the neighborhood down the street from us did have an HOA, and their rules were similar. You could not park pickup trucks in your driveway. Cars were fine. You couldn't do any like car maintenance. Like, you can't change your oil in your driveway. Not allowed to do that. And you could not, if you were going to put lights up at Christmas, they could only be white lights. You couldn't have colored lights. Um, yeah. And yeah, so any kind of decor on the house had to be white lights only. And at the time, you were not allowed to have junk in the yard. You know, like the grapevine reindeer that's covered in lights. You couldn't have that stuff. Although I think now they've relaxed and you can. But I just remember
an HOA where you couldn't have an air conditioner in your window in the front of the house because they didn't like how it looked.
Yeah, things like that. But anyway, I just remember thinking like, and my parents were never my parents never had outdoor decorations, period. My mom would put a wreath on the front door and that's it. I can't think of anything my parents did, but I just remember even as a kid, I mean, I remember being in elementary school and overhearing my mother maybe and her friends talking about that stuff and just thinking to myself, wow, that, like, why would people put restrictions like that on other people? And I couldn't wrap my head around, and I'm talking like I'm 8 years old, and I'm like, this is stupid. And then it took me until I was a teenager to go, oh, okay, I got it now. Yeah, I mean, it's about control. Isn't that what everything's about? Control and power.
Robin said oldest son and daughter-in-law lived in an HOA that restricted what you could put in the front-facing windows. Like, ew.
Yeah. Robin, the garage is a storage unit. Yep.
You know, I was gonna say, like, it's already like 4:47 and we haven't talked about chicken sandwiches.
I know, and I'm starting to get hungry. Because
I get a chicken sandwich.
I don't think I am today. I think that probably Monday is going to be our chicken sandwich day, because my mom is coming to stay the night, and I will not cook. And I'll probably just be like, let's get some carry out. So probably be like a Dave's hot chicken night.
So Alicia just said HOAs also have a pretty racist history. Yeah.
Yes.
They were used as a way to keep non-whites out of some neighborhoods.
My guess is in a lot of cases, perhaps that was the sort of the genesis of homeowners association, is keeping out people you don't want in. I am ashamed to say that when my grandmother died and we were cleaning out her house, the funny thing is you generally keep your financial documents for 7 years because of IRS audits and junk like that. But then you get rid of stuff. Like, you don't need any more. She had like the original paperwork for everything. And we found her original paperwork on for the house when my grandparents bought it. And in the, like, I guess it's the deed or whatever, it had like all the fine print. And one of the things was that no people of color, and I do not remember exactly what terminology they used, but anyway, like whatever terminology they would have used in 1950, whatever, that nobody of that color could buy a house or live in the house unless they were non-residential servants. So like you could have a housekeeper who was black, but she could not live on your premises. And, you could have a black person do your yard work, but they could not live on your premises. And I was just like, and of course then, black people cannot buy houses in this community. And I was like, that is just so disgusting. And just seeing that in writing.
Where was that?
Northern Virginia, right outside of DC, very middle class. They have really good schools there. And in fact, the people that bought my grandmother's house bought the house because they wanted their 2 children to go to the school that's there. It's the school that my mother went to. It's a middle school that my mother went to. And it is now like it's a charter school. So they wanted to live close by so their kids could go there. And yeah, well, that is the legacy of that area, that it ended up with good schools. I'm proud of that my grandmother lived in a community that had, good schools, and, somebody was able to benefit from that, after her death. But just the legacy of that community, seeing it in writing grossed me out so much. I was like, I cannot believe this. So Janet's question, what tour am I using for England? It's actually a private thing. It's a friend of ours. My mom and I have been friends with this woman for a long time. She's a lot of fun. She's so cool. She's in like the fiber and textiles industry and like world, but not quilting. So she's like over in like sewing, garment construction, that kind of stuff. And we've known her for a long time. Ironically, she lives in Lincoln, Nebraska, but she's not, again, not part of the quilt community. So it's like she's sort of separate. And she put this together with a travel tour place in Lincoln that put this together for her, because she's been trying to do this for a long time. And it's just called Diane's Fashion and Fabric Tour, I think. So, but the company is called Executive Travel in Nebraska, and from what I understand, they do a lot of this kind of stuff. So, like, if you wanted to create a tour and get all your friends together, they will do all of the management of it for you. So, and it's been pretty cool, you know, like it's nice to not have to plan all that stuff out.
Hey, that's kind of a cool concept, that they will like put a tour together for you instead of you always having to join someone else's tour.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you know, like you and X number of your friends want to do this thing, you can put together a tour, and then you can get people to add to it.
So Janet said we did a craft tour that Bonnie Hunter works with, lots of bus time. Not sure I'll do it again. So Janet.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm assuming you probably went on one with Bonnie Hunter. I do see a lot of the ones that she posts. So Stephanie and I was talking to Stephanie about what's going to happen on this tour and things like that. And because I feel the way that you do, it's not that I like the bus time upsets me or anything, but Stephanie can tell you that when we were in Terrytown going on field trips with AQSG, you know, I went on field trips like 3 days in a row, and you know, they rent charter buses for them. And by the third day that Stephanie and I are on this tour together, where we went to the Newark Museum, it was like an hour away from our hotel. By the end of the day, I was a little green on that bus. It was funny. I was just telling Sunny this story yesterday. And thank God Stephanie had a soda with her that I stole. She's literally like mid-drink, and I'm like, give me that soda. Because I really was having that feeling where I'm like, oh my God, I think I might get sick. Luckily the soda saved me. But that charter bus, stale air, you know, like, bleh. We were doing a lot of stop and go because it's New York City.
Traffic. Yeah, we were a lot of traffic.
And those buses do, you know, there's no such thing as threshold braking in those buses. The buses are going you know. I don't, yuck, I wasn't feeling great. So those kind of tours, like you're talking about, that craft tour, they make me anxious because of all that bus time. And also the back-to-back scheduling would also make me nervous, because I tend to feel poorly, at least for a couple of days here and there when I travel anywhere, even in the US. So I'd almost have to like build in time to feel like crap. So I would be and also like sometimes those tours, I'm not necessarily saying your stuff, but they're scheduled really tightly.
Ours is it's not scheduled tightly. We actually have a lot of downtime. Like in the evenings and afternoons, it's kind of like busy morning, afternoon, and then it's kind of gets a little less. Yeah, that's why
that might not be enough.
That is why my mother, when our friend Diane, her name is Diane, she announced it. My mom was like, let's do this. I will pay for it. It's your birthday present and Christmas present for like the next 10 years. So I was like, okay, you know, I can't afford this tour, but if you're willing to, you know, do this, because she'd really wanted to do, a trip. But the reason why she jumped on the trip and I said, yes, I will do this, is because it is our friend, and it is not one of those like pre-planned, you know, as much as I love to see like the big names like the Bonnie Hunters, and I know Sam Hunter, no relation to Bonnie Hunter, she does one. And then I'm trying to think who else. There's a couple people that do like those London and then Paris, and sometimes Italy, and they look like so much fun. But I don't know that that would work out well for me, because like everything you guys are saying, the bus time and the tight schedule and the um, so yes, ginger candy is absolutely the best.
I don't know that I've ever had that. Now, someone else had mentioned to me Dramamine, but I don't want to. It's probably going to make me exhausted.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And then someone else mentioned, maybe you guys know what it is. It's this thing you put behind your ear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's or the wrist things that do. It's like a pressure point on your wrist. Yeah. I have actually. So it's a pressure point. It's hitting a pressure point, and I personally, those work for me. I don't have I don't get car sick really. The only time I get car sick is trying to read a book on in a bumpy car. I get sleepy before I would get car sick. On a bus, I'm totally fine. On a train or a bus, I can read, I can sew, no problem at all. So to me,
you can't see it in the frame, but I'm making a hand gesture to you right now with both hands because you can do that stuff on a moving vehicle and I cannot.
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I absolutely couldn't. I would get car sick then, but now, like I can manage. I don't want to sit on a bus all day. Like that gets exhausting, even when you're not doing anything. You don't have to drive. You don't have to look at the traffic. You're just sitting chatting. It does. You feel tired. But yes, Janet, the ginger people candy is the best. The Gingins, oh, I love those. They come in a cute little tin. Yeah, okay. So the disc behind your ear are prescription and have side effects. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I had something from a chiropractor, or not a chiropractor, acupuncturist. So maybe it's a slightly different thing, a product, but it's about a pressure point back there. Motion sickness, a patch from the doctor. Yeah. So the boats are where I have the problem. I do get very on boats. And yeah. So, and the cruise ships are, there's a whole bunch of stuff that can affect your propensity to get sick on a cruise ship. The higher up you are, the more chance you're going to get sick. And so if you pay for nicer cabins, you have a better chance of getting sick on a nicer cabin because they're usually higher up. You usually have a balcony. So it's fun. It's kind, people always ask people who work on cruise ships, they don't, the reason why people who work on cruise ships don't really get seasick is because they most of the time are much lower in the ship and there isn't as much movement. And they don't have this eyesight to the things that cause people to get, that motion sickness. Oh my gosh, the ginger people office is near you. I didn't realize they were in California. Oh, I love the ginger people are the best. They're so
I was even thinking that when we go to seminar in Maine, the Maine State Museum from where we are is going to be about an hour. Now there won't be near the kind of traffic to deal with up there, but half of me is I might drive, even though technically your ticket is paying for the bus and everything. I'm I might just take my car, just because I don't want. The problem is if you remember that day that we went to Newark, luckily I got green on the way back. But if you recall, it messed up the whole rest of my evening till dinner. I had to go lay down.
Yeah.
And I had to skip the study center that I signed up for and stuff like that. And that bummed me out. I mean, I really needed that nap, but still. So I'm thinking I think I might drive and avoid that.
Yeah. I can understand that. I mean, if you have I think people will often, I feel lucky that I don't have that problem because my husband does. If he's going to ride in a car, he's got to be passenger seat. And most of the time he will drive. The only times that he, like, and I say lets me drive, the only times that he will say, like, give me the wheel is if he's sick, if he's really, really tired, has not had sleep. But otherwise, he's like, nope, I don't want anybody else driving. I'll be sick. So I understand from that perspective, but I don't, because I don't suffer from that. Yeah, it's hard. And it's one of those things where, like, until you are literally, like, got your head out the window throwing up, I think most people are kind of like, oh, get over it. You'll be fine. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I think I mean, I'm kind of hoping I don't, but like if I end up having to be like a bus mom again, I will just like, okay, everybody's on the bus. You guys are locked in, tightened up.
Bye bye.
Like,
I'm in the car behind you. Yeah. I do have to say though, with England, I think so I'm not just in London. In fact, I'm not in London until later on. At the very beginning, we come into Heathrow and then we're immediately like kind of leaving the area, and we end up in Birmingham. Like, it's right outside of Birmingham is where we go, and then we end up in Liverpool. That's like farther up north. So, but the thing is about England, I mean, this is kind of like driving around a state. It's not like driving cross country, and I think that's something that I think people from Europe coming here, Europe and England coming here,
yeah, they don't realize how big
sometimes
the US
don't
is.
understand. And I think we coming from here to there are often surprised at how close things are together. I don't know how many people I've talked to who have had like friends coming from Europe who think, oh, okay, well, we'll fly into New York and then do some stuff around New York, and then we'll plan on doing like San Francisco, and it's like, well, when are you getting that 6-hour flight in? Because that is not something you just hop in the car from New York and go to, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can get from the far western part of Europe all the way to Russia much faster than you can get from one side to the other of the United States. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Robin says they drive 2 hours and get to go through 2 countries. We drive 2 hours getting to and from work. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's even, Steph and I have even talked about after going to Nebraska and then like driving up to our friends in Minnesota, we were talking about just the difference between the East Coast states and being out west, and how different it is because the East Coast states are much smaller and closer together, and you could literally,
well, like northeast.
But even still, once you get into the Mid-Atlantic and the Band, the states are long. They're not real fat, like if you're just driving down the coast.
Right.
Like I can get from the tip of Virginia to the bottom in like 2 hours, If I was going this way, I'm sure it's a lot longer. But like from here, I'm in the upper portion of Massachusetts. I can get to the border of Maine in like 45 minutes, and in between there, I go into New Hampshire. And when I tell people, like some friends that don't live in the area or just aren't familiar, when I tell them like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get an antique store in Maine, and they're like, what, are you just gonna visit there twice a year? And I'm like, oh no, it's only like, Maine's also a big honking state. Like people don't, like, bottom to top of Maine's like 5 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can get around, Rhode Island's only like an hour-ish.
Well, Rhode Island from point to point, tip to tip, like what you can drive around that state 3 times in an hour, right?
No, it's probably an hour or 2, depending. Like if I went down to Newport, Rhode Island, which I was gonna say, like if ever you're looking for a coastal, very interesting destination, Newport. Have you ever been to Newport, Rhode Island?
I haven't.
With all the mansions, the historic, Downton Abbey, mansions. It's very interesting. I will say some of those mansion tours leave a lot to be desired, but it's very cool down there. But I think to get down there took an hour and a half. But yeah, like I could be to the border of Connecticut in 45 minutes. Like, Reno
Oh,
to Las
yeah.
Vegas is 8
8 hours,
hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you're so close to California. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about the western, like, western and the Midwest, that I sometimes get confused. I have to look at maps, like, if when I'm traveling, to kind of get the gist of, like, what's close to what, because you're absolutely right, Robin. Like, places, I mean, you could be in a whole bunch of different states, but like those big cities, when they're right on the edge of the state, they're close by, but to get to the other end of your state is really long. So
Mhm.
yeah, and it's deceiving if you don't, like, look at a map and kind of understand the differences. But
Well,
yeah,
that
like,
and like driving through Nebraska, Minnesota, what was it, Wisconsin, Indiana, that whole I'm not gonna lie, you guys. It is some of the most boring driving
there's a lot
I've
of
ever
there's a lot
done.
of windmill farms between Lincoln, Nebraska, or Omaha, and Iowa. Winterset, Iowa.
I mean, there's just a lot of farmland. Like, there's like no trees. Like, it's really, there's nothing to look at. Like, it's really boring. So I feel like the time also feels longer because there's
There's
not
yeah, there's nothing to break it up.
things to see.
Yeah, there's nothing to
Yeah.
break it up.
So, that being said, don't get me wrong, we had a fantastic time out there.
Oh,
Like,
we did. It
in
was
in
great.
Lincoln, and visiting Dawn up in Minnesota was wonderful. So, like, I would totally go out there again. So, but I definitely missed trees.
Yeah, yeah, and actually, I remember this was back a couple jobs ago. I had a woman that she lived in, I think she lived in Colorado, but she traveled here to the East Coast a lot, and she stayed in Maryland a lot, and we would go out, like, to lunch and dinner and stuff, and I went out to dinner with her, and went to this restaurant that's in this kind of weird little area not far from me, and it looks like, when you drive into where it's this little, like, shopping center, and it has two great restaurants there, and when you drive back in there, it's like all of a sudden you're in the middle. It looks like you're in the middle of nowhere. It is just surrounded by trees. It's almost like you're in a forest. And
Hmm.
I don't think anything of that. There's lots of places like that around me. But she would just look at, like, stand up and just look, and I'm like, what are you looking at? And she's like, the trees. This just looks so different than where I live. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's not like I haven't traveled. I mean, I have seen things. But it wasn't until later on I was in Denver, and I was, like, kind of just looking at the landscape. And I think this really, anytime I travel out west, I'm like, yeah, it really is that. It is that different. If you're,
Hmm.
I think, like, driving through, there's parts of California you drive through, and Washington State, and Oregon, and stuff. Like, some of it's very coastal, some of it's very mountainous, and it just looks different than our, like, coastal and mountainous. It's just a different geography.
So we've already kind of run over five a little bit.
I know. I'm like,
And,
I'm not
yeah.
paying attention
And
to my tummy. My tummy's going, Stephanie, where's that
Well,
chicken
and
sandwich?
and no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm starting to get hungry too. But I just want to do one thing here before we leave that I really wanted us to do earlier, and then we just went on tangents. And I'm going to share my screen here, um, because I really want you to tell us about this piece of art that you
Oh,
posted on social media the other day.
okay. Um, so what I can tell you about this piece, it's hard to it's kind of hard to talk about this piece because it is part of a very, like, a whole big thing. So if you've read the comment about, like, the comment I put on this, it's the fifth piece in a 5-part piece. So there's 5 separate little mini quilts in this piece, which is part of a multi-part series. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of an experimental. It's sort of a, I'm kind of working on writing this paper that's very. It's nebulous right now. I will tell you that much. I've been doing a lot of writing and a lot of outlining and a lot of erasing because I'm like, oh, it's not, But essentially what it's kind of come down to is like women's work in the sense of, I guess consent, and consent and appropriation are words that I'm trying to figure out because consent and appropriation have other meanings, and I think if you're in the art world and you kind of understand like IP appropriation and approval consent to utilize images, I think that spells it out more clearly to people. But if you're just looking at like, for 10,000 feet and people say consent and appropriation because those have meanings outside of the art world, I think people get like, ugh. But those are the two words right now. So consent and appropriation. And it's about using found objects, using other people's work. And what all that means historically and contemporarily. And also now, what does it mean that we have AI involved? So it's a look at this, and it's, I've been told my research questions are too broad, and I agree. I need to refine it. I'm at a point where it's difficult. I need to refine it because I'm like, I want to go into all this women's work thing because that's how it pertains to quilts. But at this also, this idea of appropriation and consent and the whole AI piece in this art making process is also important to me. So anyway, that's what this is about. And this is almost like taking this snapshot in time. You haven't seen the rest of it yet. And you will see the rest of it. I'm not, it's just a matter of I have to finish these pieces. I have to get somewhere with this academic piece that I'm this writing I'm working on.
So tell us a little more here about just the details. Like how big is this? What is this made out of? Things like that.
Oh gosh, what is the measurement? It's like 10 inches by, it's small. It's only like this big. I literally held it up on my stream the other day. Like it's, the pink, so the gray is silk. The pink is double knit polyester. The pink are the negative areas that came from cutting out a section in the quilt before it.
Okay.
So there is, if you see them all together, you can see this like transition from each one, their series. The other pieces in this series, this is, by the time I got to this one, it looks very, very different than what the first one looks like. I have posted pictures of them. I mean, if you look on my Instagram, you'll see pictures of them.
Well, I mean, I'm on your Facebook right now. That's where I got.
Okay. Well,
yeah. Oh, you mean the other one?
Yeah, the other four quilts, and then there's 2 standalones. I think the one standalone nobody has seen, because I don't think I've even taken pictures of it. There's a larger standalone piece that's about this big. It's yellow and black. And then the pieces that are the 5 pieces that are in this are different color, but the pink is consistent across. No, actually not. The pink is not consistent. There's two of them where there's no pink. There's some things that are consistent across this 5 piece. Also, so there's that green color, that yellowy green, that's felt. The little tiny bars. There's I don't know if you can you go to like one of the yeah. Okay. So these little pieces that have it's like this, it's neon thread. Those are actually encapsulating little pieces of paper.
Oh, yeah.
And they do have stuff written on them, but I'm not going to tell anybody what they are.
Will, would your placard tell what it is? Like, is that
what the words on the paper are?
Yeah. No. Like, is it the goal that people don't know? Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. They're lyrics from a song.
Okay.
That's part of it, is why I wouldn't reveal it. But it's also, it's something that would not make any difference to anybody else. And it ties into some of the deep personal meanings to me in this series. Which you might know a little bit about because I've talked to you about it, but it's not anything that will ever be revealed to the greater world out there. So, and that's one of those things, like, you kind of have to protect, and, as an artist, you sometimes have to protect your source of creative energy, because sometimes it doesn't come from a place that's like, I had this joyous event and I want to make art about it. It's a lot of times like this little seed of something painful gave me the energy and the drive to make this piece of art. So, yeah, that's kind of what some of that is. And if I revealed what the song lyrics are, I don't think anybody would be like, oh. It's just, it's really personal to me, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just, there's text in there.
And then what about this?
So that's some, like, just bridal tool, cheap old bridal tool. And I've been doing some experiments with that, with bridal tool. It's, cheap, scratchy. But when you fold it and layer it, or organza, like polyester organzas and chiffons and stuff like that, those kind of like the bridal prom dress material section of Joanne, like all those fabrics. I have a bunch of scraps of that stuff, and I've been practicing like layering it and seeing what that looks like. So yeah. Oh, and the white circles, those are scraps of like vintage, I think it's a tablecloth or a sheet, I can't remember, but it's like a vintage linen.
Talk about using every little bit, huh? Like, you know what, I want to keep this photo just so that the number of people, when I was on retreat recently, that made comments about how small my pieces were. I was dealing with 1.5 inch squares, and then 1.5 inch by like 2.5 inch rectangles. They're like, oh my god, it's so tiny. And I'm like, I'm gonna like have this on like the back of my phone case or something and be like, excuse me.
Yeah, that's I would say the larger dot, the larger one that's at the top, is probably about the size of my pinky nail. That's about how big that large one is. Is it hard to applique pieces of linen that tiny? Yes, it is. It's a very, very, very tight whip stitch. They're not the edges are sort of turned under a little bit, but it's a really tight whip stitch I did with like white I think it was white embroidery floss. So it's a really tight whip stitch with like a single strand, and so it's like a satin stitch that kind of holds it together. But yeah, they are some tiny pieces.
Very nice.
Well, thank you for showing it off. I just, this is the terrible thing. I'm terrible about promoting my own artwork. I sit here and talk to you guys about jurying and judging and all the things, and I am terrible about even showing my artwork to just anybody. Like, some of the important skills that artists need to have are missing, and that's why sometimes we aren't as successful as we plan and want to be. But yeah, this piece is it's I think that I can speak more. I think I could speak about the series in a way that is a little bit less like, yeah, there's text there and I'm not going to tell you what it is. I could speak more like broadly and interestingly about it when all 5 pieces are together, and you'll be able to see those. So. Oh, yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing all 5 pieces together.
Well, yeah.
Whether it be in a show or just you showing off.
Well, I will show it off because those pieces, I mean, I've been working on them now since last summer. The very first one, I probably started I would say I probably started the very first one about 10 or 11 months ago. So it has been that long. And it's a series I've worked really hard on. And so whether it ever gets into a gallery or the importance of it for me is not just the pieces themselves, but also this process, because that's what I'm writing about, is the process. And but I've worked really hard, and so whether it ever makes into a show or not, I still want to I will show it to people because I worked hard. So yeah.
And I think that's a good note to end on.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, I hope everybody has the rest of your weekend is super fun and relaxing. Or if you're in the areas of the world where you guys are having nice weather, go outside and enjoy it. And if, like us and Druid, you know, it's 98 in the shade and is basically a wall of water when you walk outside, I hope you stay cool. I hope the air conditioning's working and you don't have to work up a sweat.
Agreed. I can't wait to go have something to eat.
Yeah, me too. I'm starving. I basically had a frozen waffle before. So, oh, thanks, Robin. Yeah. We will, and I will have so much to tell you guys. I will be thinking about you guys. I will be looking for things that I know you guys will enjoy.
A lot of pictures and video.
I will. I absolutely will.
I should like take a picture of myself for you to tape on the outside of your phone case. That's like, yeah.
I will, you guys. Well, with that, the thunder's coming in. So yeah, let's hope you do get.
Can I have some? I would like a nice thunder boomer to help cool things off.
Okay, guys, we will say goodbye. I can't wait to see you when I come back. And yeah, you guys have a good 2 weeks. Mwah, 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 mwah.